And alrighty folks, welcome back to our second stream for round 2 here for the Next Tier Esports League League of Legends tournament season. And we've got some great games on today. Really excited to hop into it, folks. But I am Jackson Orcadius, and I'm here joined by Liam Bledexa. Once again, if you want to unmute and say hi.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. I'm ready for these matches today. I hope you all too. Because, yeah, we got some doozies up for today. Do you know the schedule? How about we run through the schedule first?
Yeah. So first up is going to be Purple Cobras versus Astra, which is kicking off just in a couple of minutes. And then after that, we're going to be seeing CS versus CG happening at 4:30. And then Jewpies Angels, the team with team that's up, put up some good results against Destiny last week, is going to be going up against JSA at 5:30.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that matchup. Obviously playing in it, but we saw a banger of a game between JSA and I believe it was AD Astra. So AD Astra weren't able to take that one out, but yeah, JSA really got pushed to the limit by that team, and yeah, we saw just the late game shot calling and stuff that can come in, which we haven't seen too much so far in League in next Northern Territory Esports League rather. It's been a lot of quick and easy games so far, but yeah, last week we had tons of bangers and they went right down to the wire for a lot of them. So excited to see whether they, can get to that stage again and convert late game.
Absolutely. I mean, Purple Cobras here versus Ad Astra to kick us off. Now, Purple Cobras was, I believe, a team that had a fairly not the best performance last week in one of their games that they played, but they were playing against one of the better teams in the tournament, and then going against, here Ad Astra as well. Feels like this might be a little bit more of an interesting matchup. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see. I believe both these teams haven't been able to get on the board to
Yeah, they
yet,
are
so
both.
we're
They
about
are
to
both
see.
indeed 0-2. Yeah.
We are going to see one of them walk away with the win today. Unfortunately, not both of them, but all these teams are going to be walking away with a lesson learned, right? Now that they're versus someone else in a similar position, we can see a lot of how these teams are going to adapt, versus similar skilled competition, what they've learned from playing the better teams, and how they're going to go forward and look to try and win this competition. But we're seeing some bans come out already, guys. The Shaco ban, I think Shaco is absolutely ridiculous this patch with a sleeper broken item of the Stride Breaker. Any champion with a dash inbuilt into the kit. Just
Why is
really...
this so big? What is this?
You gotta restart that.
What?
Purple Cobras have a very...
Why is
logo.
Purple Cobra's logo like 10 times the resolution of every other logo? Oh my goodness.
That's how big their dreams are for this season, and it shows in the logo. But we're seeing some Diana bans come through, no surprise. Casuarina had an absolutely insane Diana game last Thursday there. It was just not even fair how he was doing those things on Diana early game, making all the plays. So easy to see that one get taken away from him here, and of course Tristana and Blitzking getting taken off the board. Very aggressive bot laners there, taking them away, making sure maybe Chen and the ultimate feeder can have a very stable laning phase. Chen usually does pretty well in the bot lane there. No matter what AD carry he's playing, he's got a stable performance, but he just wants to take care of some of the more aggressive picks, so he's not getting blown up in that laning phase potentially. And yeah, I'm excited to see what this first pick is going to be. They are hovering the Thresh for Endome there. I believe Endome had a pretty good game on Thresh thus far, maybe in week 1. He had a pretty good Thresh performance, but he wasn't able to convert that into anything.
We have cleaned up the UI a little bit for you all, but Morgana getting locked in right away into the Thresh. Again, we talked about this. Another great, when you see these champions like Thresh first picked and Morgana is not banned, you can just pick Morgana and then they are not able to really play nearly as easily as they would otherwise. And then you can flex the Morgana into the jungle very easily and very well. So excited to see that. Now, one thing that I do want to point out here, Blidexa, is these games are going to be on the 1.13 patch as opposed to 1.12. Now, tanks are significantly better now than they were previously, so I am hopefully keen to see some of these teams adapt, and it looks like they are. Volibear and Poppy both getting locked in round 1, which is what I love to see, as tank meta has kind of crept back a little bit due to some of the new items, as well as pretty much every item in the game getting hit, so tanks are just more difficult to kill now than they were last patch. And it's going to see them rise up very, very prevalently. Nasus is one that I was particularly excited to see. Obviously, Divine Sunderer didn't get hit by for melees at all. It only got hit for range to try and kind of curb off some of the power that Senna was mainly abusing. I think it was mainly a Senna hit. But it didn't hit Nasus, and the new item that lets Nasus mark his laner opponent and take 30% less damage from them is really strong, because it just lets you just sit there and stack away with, without really any concerns. You can use that passive of yours to heal up an absolute ton. So very excited to see Nasus here. It's definitely a pick that we saw in the previous round, but it is much, much stronger this patch.
Yeah, Nasus' patch is absolutely broken with the Divine Thunder, and you can rush straight into that Hull Breaker there, and a team is changed if you're having trouble versus your lane opponent. There's so many new toys for him to play around with, but
absolutely,
just Divine Thunder on its own with that champion is so strong right now, and with the Hull Breaker edition, he just gets ridiculous in the side lane. You start dropping turrets at the drop of a hat there with extra bonus damage to those towers with the Hull Breaker.
It does look like...
Not like Nasus need any more resistances, he just gets hit crap ton.
Oh, absolutely not, but it does look like they've locked in Poppy without any, sort of dash champions, I suppose, locked in, which is interesting.
Yeah, interesting to say the very least. Very early Poppy pick, Normally in this day and age with League of Legends, there are going to be some champions with dashes drafted, so you shouldn't feel too bad drafting a Poppy early, but I guess the enemy team can just go the other way and be like, oh, they locked in this Poppy, we can make her W useless by just drafting all these champions without dashes. I believe the only thing she can block
It
right now
does
is the
stop,
Thresh
yeah, Thresh Q.
taking his Q.
That's about it.
Yeah,
Nautilus getting locked in here. Ooh, that's very interesting. That means that this is probably going to be maybe... Could it be a bit of a Nautilus mid, maybe? Harkening back to the 2019 championships, or 2020.
We've got a very interesting draft here. You can see even Morgana go to the mid lane here. Like, there's a lot of flexible picks going on right here, and excited to see where they land.
Yeah, Morgana mid is like also a thing that you could play. Annie getting hovered here. I know Annie was what we saw, I believe, the mid laner of Purple Cobra play last time. And this Nasus was also a pick that, I don't know if you remember the last time we saw Purple Cobras play, but they did lock in the Nasus, and the Nasus was the kind of losing team's MVP. He played quite well, but wasn't able to carry it out. And, you know, if he has that kind of a performance again on this, like, newly buffed champion, definitely could be very, very exciting. I'm also excited to see MF locked in and Fizz, as well as Volibear. I feel like Purple Cobras have shown that they're maybe not like, you know, the highest of ELO gamers, and these are all champions where, you know, you don't really need to be to pilot them, and I think that that's very, like, heads-up drafting on their part, you know, not going for maybe what is, like, the top-end competitive meta, but what are the champions that they'll be able to pilot and do really well on. Obviously, Thresh is the only, like, champion in their comp that really sticks out as needing to, you know, have some skill expression, but we'll see how that one does go. As for the bot side, looks like Kaiser's going to get locked in. Morgana being hovered as likely the mid laner here, going to swap with Easy Doctor, and there it is. So that was a Morgana mid. You called it, Bloodexa.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting it here, there, with the Kindred. You can't really see it go into the jungle, and as soon as that Nautilus was picked, you'd kind of expect the Nautilus to go bot lane here. Because not mid isn't as great as it used to be. Unfortunately, Doinb hasn't been making waves on that pick recently, but
Doinb hasn't been making waves at all.
Yeah, unfortunate there for the FPX mid laner, but we're talking about next year esports here, and I'm excited to see this game play out with this Nasus in the top lane. It has a pretty good matchup into that Poppy.
I imagine Morgana into Fizz is probably not super, like, I don't know. Morgana's allowed to obviously quite capably rush one of the best items into Fizz, Zhonya's Hourglass, and then her shield also will make it, you know, her quite tanky against all-ins. So I'm keen to see how the matchup plays out, because I don't think I've seen it before. Fizz, a champion who can normally kind of cheese out some very, very cheeky sort of level 1 to 3 solo kills, but I think Morgana's going to make him have a hard time doing that. As well as that, Morgana's wave clear, once she does get level 9 and access to the full rank Cursed Soil, is absolutely disgusting. She clears waves so quickly, and then once she gets Leandri's Torment, it is just that much worse.
Yeah, in my opinion, for that matchup, it really is all about the early game here. Once you actually tick over to level 6, Fizz doesn't really have much to do, because you can't actually dodge out on the chains. If she drops that on you, you can't hop over it with your E, so it's going to stick on you. So it's all about that early game there, when she's extremely reliant on the binding cooldown, where you can dodge it pretty easily and play games with Morgana. Morgana doesn't really have much damage value there, but once she hits level 6, she has a black shield for your ultimate, and there's a lot less skill pressure, so
Absolutely.
you really want to be playing the early game aggressive in this matchup as the Fizz.
I think Poppy's just never killing this Nasus, though.
Yeah. It is a very rough matchup in the top lane. I do imagine for the Poppy, once upon a time you kind of had a chance in that matchup, but Nasus has just been getting ridiculous buffs, and Divine Sunder and such just makes this matchup almost unplayable. So we'll see how they can, how the Forks they can adapt to that, because he has been in quite a few losing matchups for this team. AD Astra do like to sort of make him play weak side and put him on the tanks. So far, that's basically what I've noticed, but we'll see what their game plan is going into this game. But why don't we get into the sponsors while we still have a little bit of time?
Well, yeah, of course. Our major sponsors for the next tier esports league for 2021. The Northern Territory government themselves, Paul's Iced Coffee, and McDonald's Darwin. So big shout outs to those folks for making it all possible. And then you can see down in the bottom of the screen right there, all lined up in a nice little row, all of our minor sponsors. And obviously, all of our sponsors together are what has brought the entire NXT Esports League, not just for League of Legends, but all the games together, and has enabled them to put together the prize pools that all these teams are battling it out for. And it's definitely, I would say, the biggest prize pool that we've ever had here at Next Tier. I know that you and I have both been around for a while, and I can't remember a time where we've had like a season that's had this much support behind it.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy, the amount of funding we've received this season in comparison to all the previous, and I'm so excited to bring out those prizes to you guys. That's why we're doing systems like the MVPs. Try to give out to the players more. Try to bring some more excitement match to match rather than just build up to that final grand finals here. So we're now into the loading screen. So I'm excited to see what sort of runes and masters have ended up taking this game. And I've never seen that Morgana skin. I'm not sure if you've hopped into loading screen yet, but
no.
Very interesting one.
She did go Comet as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, you can see it doing pretty significant damage if you're not paying attention and you just walk over the W.
Did take the exhaust, which I do like actually, into this matchup.
Yeah, it definitely helps out in that early game, and we're seeing some other interesting ones like the fleet footwork on Nasus. Normally you take that into more difficult matchups, but he's actually decided to take that into the Poppy, basically guaranteeing he's not going to get pushed out of the lane early, get those stacks going. Basically, it guarantees he doesn't have a bad early game here. Now, I've loaded onto the Rift, but I'm going to pause so we can try to sync our streams up and we don't have any of those stream delays.
Yeah, so, just making some last minute adjustments to this, and whoop. Oh, I gotta change the text as well.
Welcome to Summoner's
Yeah, guys, I hope you're excited for this matchup. Both these teams are looking to get on the board here, so this is a very important matchup for both these teams. It's basically it sucks, but someone usually starts out at the bottom of the leaderboard and has to try and make that comeback story happen. We'll see who's going to start from the bottom. Which one of these teams is going to be acting like Drake? Started at the bottom, and now the whole team ends up somewhere at the end of the season, but we don't know till 12 weeks from now. But yeah, I'm excited to see these drafts. They do look pretty entertaining.
A minute into the game, and it looks like they're not really deciding to go for anything too crazy. Just playing it nice and safe, not giving anything away.
Try to sync up the streams while they're not doing anything crazy. What time are you at on the timer there?
1:21, 1:22.
Alright. Yeah, so I'm about a couple seconds. So I'll pause mine and unpause, and now we should be synced up. Let's hope. Pray we're not getting any desync play-by-play or anything like that, but...
131,
sure.
132, 133.
Yep. Pretty much synced up now, so
Excellent.
hopefully everything goes pretty well. But yeah, we're just going to see standard lane assignments here. Both junglers starting blue, so we're interested to see where that Volibear decides to go, whether he wants to get that bot lane rolling with the pretty aggressive lane of MF Thresh. MF kind of needs to get an accelerated lead on that Kai'Sa, otherwise she starts to fall off because she's not really got an insane team composition to set up her ultimates here. So we definitely want to see some lane dominance out of that MF if she's going to have a major impact this game, but who knows, that their game plan might just be playing around that Nasus split push or looking for the Fizz picks. They have a lot of ways to play this composition. Ginger just going towards that top side, probably has the same idea to try and stop that Nasus. Kira team did favor ganking top lane a lot.
Stealth popping the playful trickster there to dodge out the Morgana auto attack. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think as Fizz early, you just do really want to pick up as much CS as you possibly can without taking too much damage. You just want to hit that level 3, basically full health, and then once you have all 3 abilities, you can start forcing out some crazy trades there. Because that's basically when Fizz is at his strongest, I'd say, at that level 3 there. For a lot of the trading, you feel pretty weak when you've got nothing but that playful trickster early on, so probably trying to conserve his health so he can play aggressive later.
Does look like the bot side of Purple Cobras are losing priority once again. much like they did. Oh, stealth going in here, though. Easy Doctor missing the Dark Binding is going to pop the Black Shield and kite it out. Stealth going to back off. Did win that trade quite convincingly, but this is a fairly large minion wave, and Stealth is actually going to get rooted up in the middle of it. This is going to be a large amount of damage, and now finding himself on the losing side of the trade. Very unfortunate.
I think something that's underrated for Fizz is the fact that he takes less damage from basic attacks, and I believe that counts for
Endome
minions
is
there.
getting rooted up here. About half his health taken away in a trade there.
In the chat asked what the prize pool is, 50 bands. It's a little bit more than 50 bands, to believe you and me. Like, MA just wants to spare no expense in giving us up. But there's action on the screen.
Endome, though. Ignite might kill him off here. And it is going to get the first blood given over to Nasus. And meanwhile, on the top side, Nasus doing his best, but Kiratine on that Kindred. As we know, Kindred, very good champion at doing a lot of early game damage with that E execute. And is going to find himself a kill in the top side, shutting down the Nasus snowball. And yeah, definitely going to be snowballing the bot and top side of the map.
Yeah, that's pretty great pickup. I believe he did mark the Nasus 2 before that, and we got another gank here in the bot lane.
Likely not going to be leading any kills, though, by the looks of things.
Yeah, deciding to play it a bit safer there. They know that Nautilus has all the summoners up, but I do think they could have at least tried to push out that flash summoner, but...
Hectic Antiseptic also, I believe, had no mana to drop the E, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, probably afraid of that Kaiser in the extended trade there, but I do want to talk about what happened top. That is an extremely great pickup for the Kindred, but you got to admit that Cantanker's Gym probably should have been playing a bit more safe, knowing that the mark was dropped on him. It's pretty easy to tell that the enemy Kindred did start blue buff, and she's probably going to be pathing towards that top side there. Yeah, so I guess he really did want to just try to pressure this matchup as much as he could with the winning matchup in the top lane, but still early game, you haven't got many stacks and assets. No 1v2 outplay is going to be there. The mid lane's basically going to stagnate here, I imagine. Both players lose a lot of kill potential on each other once you start to get to those level 6s, because Morgana can just deny your engage with the Soul Shackles, and she can deny your Chum the Waters, so Fizz just needs to try and keep up with the wave clear, or maybe even possibly look for some roams on the map where he can kill those people. I'm loving the amount of interaction in the chat, by the way, guys. Loving to see all the copy passes or the takes on the players. Love to see some chat interaction. If you guys want to ask anything towards the casters, don't be afraid. Some crowd are asking whether the winner gets bags. I don't believe we have any Gucci bags on sale here, you know. Most of our players are guys. Probably not too interested in the handbags, but, you know, maybe they can give it to their girlfriends.
Harry Fuge asking, can I explain why tanks are better? Tanks are better because in the newest patch, all the items basically got hit right across the board. They've just lowered the damage. Oh, but hold on, there is a bit of a gank going on right now.
Yeah, 4-second plays it really well, though. I think he is going to get out of that one.
Did manage to get out there alive, but yes, so due to the fact that all the items got hit, damage is overall lower, which makes obviously resistances and the amount of like health you get from a health item, example, it's going to be able to absorb more. And not only that, but tanks got 2 new items, and both of them are quite good, like very strong. And last patch, Warmogs got buffed, and a lot of just the items in general that tanks already wanted to buy either got buffed or got nerfed only for ranged champions. So tanks are in a really, really good spot right now, with them being much harder to kill than previously. And therefore, you're probably going to see them pop up in the season a lot more. The best ones right now are probably Ornn, Nasus, Volibear's obviously still very good. All that good stuff. Malphite's still incredibly good into the right compositions.
Yeah, and I do love the synergy between the new item Anathema's Chains and champions like Maokai that really benefit from the tenacity reduction you get from that item. You can really lock someone down. So if you choose that on, say, the enemy AD carry as the Maokai, not only is that AD carry not going to be doing too much extended damage to you, you're going to lock them down from even longer, and tenacity isn't usually a common stat on AD carriers, so you can even get that AD carry to negative tenacity, so they're just locked down for so much longer than they should be. So there are some sleeper picks I'm expecting to see, and the team has changed on. But so far, I think Hullbreak has been stealing the show. I'm expecting to see one on this Nasus eventually, and I'm excited to see how it benefits him.
Ooh, hook landed onto Ultimate Feeder. He gets flayed away though.
They're turning around.
Yeah, they're going to turn it on Antiseptic. Ignite does get dropped, but he's just going to flash away immediately. I think if that flay had been inwards instead of away, they might have actually been able to force a lot more out of Nautilus there. Probably grab the flash even. Endome showing a little bit of unfamiliarity on the champion. Should watch some Prodigium solo queue matches more than likely.
Yeah, just looking, there's not been a crazy amount of action. Obviously, Kiratine did pick up that early kill, botlane also with a kill here, but I'd say they're just winning CS.
There's a hook. He flays him away again. I don't know why he keeps flaying him away. You gotta flay him in, bro.
Yeah, I think they're looking for the short trade here. The MF doesn't not have mana, so they're probably not going to win that extended trade if it does turn into an all-in.
They're like under tower though, is what I mean. Like, flay him under tower. You can chase him with more orders.
And Tanker's Gym's actually going in.
Tanker's Gym is going in 1v2. Kiratine, but here comes Volibear. Does pop the ultimate. They're just sitting in that Kindred ultimate right now, trying to buy as much time as possible, but Nervous is absolutely massive on this bear. Kiratine is walking around trying to get a few auto attacks here, but hopefully he doesn't overstep a little bit too far. Nervous respecting the damage and getting out alive, and now they are going to be able to force in this wave with the Herald available to force out some of these top plates.
Yeah, Kiratine has been doing pretty well this game here. He does get the 2v2, but they still come out on top, playing really well around the Kindred ultimate, and he's going to use his Herald to convert an even bigger lead for his team. ACST did get 12 stacks off that Herald though, big. But yeah, Kiratine has basically keeping the top lane under control for what should be a snowballing matchup for the Nasus, so really love to see his tension up that lane here. We're seeing an engage in the mid lane here. I'm not sure if he's going to drop the fish, but he does, but ends up getting sidestep. Good movement by Easy Doctor there, and almost finds the binding as well, but good playful trickster. This is what I mean. There's both parties have so much room to outplay the other. It's just so hard to get a kill unless someone makes a major mistake in this mid lane. But it is very hard to keep up with the wave clear Morgana has, so she kind of slowly takes the lead if you're not farming well on this Fizz, which is basically what's happening here. I did see some people in the chat calling out Stealth to be a sleeper Fizz god here, so I'm looking forward to his plays, but right now it's just the pick's not allowing him. He's been counterpicked here.
He's getting the damage done on Poppy. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I want to see what stacks he's at right now. He's at about 150 stacks. If you get that number to like 350 at 20 minutes, I'd say he's looking pretty strong to take over the game.
A little bit of poke onto the Morgana here, but she's walking in the complete wrong direction. Does pop the Black Shield into the Dark Binding, but a beautiful playful trickster from Stealth, showing the Fizz God that he is, but he is just going to get collapsed on by 3 people and blown up, cooked like a pepperoni pizza, and going right back to the fountain. And now we've got 3 members of Ad Astra pushing down on this mid-tier 1.
Yeah, it's a good pickup there by the Fizz, but unfortunately when you use all your abilities to grab that kill, you've got nothing left to get out of that counter engage, and they are going to rotate their members over. Currently the Purple Cobras bot lane just trying to push out and maybe get some plates of their own, but unfortunately the rotate was way faster from the side of AD Astra, so they're going to be benefiting from this play a lot more.
Kintakra's Gym is just stacking up a storm in the top side right now. Forsaken finding it increasingly difficult to outdamage this man, clicking Q and lifestealing on minions. Does decide to go in for a little bit of a trade, but again, he's just not going to be able to do enough to really put a dent, a mortal wound on this Nasus, and he's just going to be able to use that passive, the 20% innate lifesteal, to just heal up. And here comes Kiratine looking for potentially a dive onto Nasus. He does have the Fury of the Sands available. I do believe if they try and commit on this too hard, so they are going to decide to back off. Not exactly sure what Kiratine's doing, but that does give bot side a little bit of a pressure gap here to push out and get a little bit of space for themselves.
Nervous
coming in on the side though. They do push forward. There we go. Does pop the Volibear ultimate, and it is met with a beautiful Kindred ultimate into a beautiful Poppy ultimate to get them out nice and safely and live to tell another tale.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, I believe it's called Keeper's Verdict there from Poppy, sending both of the Fat Bruisers. They were basically full health. They're guaranteed to win that fight, so the only way they get out there is a beautiful Poppy ultimate. Comboed with the Kindred ult there. And yeah, they're making pretty good plays in the top lane, but it's not crazy advantage. They're just whittling away at this tower. But we're seeing some significant leads being built up on the rest of the map just by the laners themselves kind of capping their opponents. There is so much banter going on in this chat right now.
I'm just laughing at what Daniel's saying, jeez.
But yeah, we're seeing Endome get another pick.
Oh my goodness, Endome is getting so much damage put onto him right now. He's going to explode. And Hectic Antiseptic not quite going to be able to do anything about it. Easy Doctor getting challenged by Nervous a little bit. He's still going to keep going. He's chasing her down in the mid lane. Directed camera, what are you doing? Show us the action. But Easy Doctor going to...
Antiseptic's getting dived here. He does burn the flash, doesn't burn the heal, and gets picked up by that killer.
Oh my goodness, there's just stuff happening all over the map right now. And meanwhile, Cantankerous Jim still clicking Q on creeps, getting himself a sizable CS lead over his opponent right now.
Nervous is trying to bait for his mid laner, but I think he baited
the shield's
a little
gonna come
too
down.
hard.
Oh, shield barely doesn't come down. The fish is gonna get flashed, and Easy Doctor gonna grab himself a bit of a free little blue buff in the mid lane there.
Yeah, the Fizz had to trade that kill somehow, but the flash comes through. Not gonna find it, and yeah, just a clean pickup from Easy Doctor there on the Morgana. Looking pretty powerful this game. He's doing pretty well over his opponent. People were praising that Self's Fizz here, but unfortunately I don't know how easy it is, this matchup. If you give the Morgana a little bit to work with, she's just gonna drop the Black Shield and be invincible to your engages
she
here.
Does have the Leandri's Torment fully completed now, so that's going to be very scary for the Fizz, and just this wave clear is going to be super oppressive. Cantankerous Jim is getting poked down slowly, but Bladex, I think it's one of those cases where Poppy's mana bar is definitely going down a lot faster than Nasus's health bar is, and eventually she's just not going to be able to do anything in this lane, and he's going to be able to sit there and stack up a storm. So I'm not really sure what to do at this point if I was the Poppy. Like, he is already full health again from lifestealing. Look at this. She can't do anything to him. He was at below half only like a minion wave ago, and he's already healed back to almost full. This champion is so oppressive in this matchup. Oh, but looks like we've got Kiratine getting collapsed on 2v1. Herald does get stolen. Playful Trickster goes a little wide, but Kiratine is looking to find himself a 1v1 stealth, just grabbing the kill. Easy Doctor looking to finish him off there, does go down from the Poppy charge, and now the members of Astra are looking to retreat from two very big boys who have just both popped their ultimates.
Yeah, he was able to burst down Kiratine there just before the Lambsproof sight came through, just in time there, otherwise it would have looked a lot worse for him. But yeah, good pick up there from Stealth, in the best of a bad situation. Once he missed that E, it was looking pretty hard to grab that kill, but he does just get it out there.
Volibear stealing that Rift Herald, of course, not coming without a price. They do lose bot tier 1 tower for it as well, putting the turret score to 2 turrets in favor of none to add Astra, and they do have themselves a nice little 7-kill lead. So things are not looking too great right now for Purple Cobras, to say the least, and Easy Doctor making a bit of a rotation in the top side. Ghost is popped by Cantankerous Jim. He does juke out the binding, grabs himself a little bit of lifesteal, and Forsaken forced to flash out away from the turret to keep himself alive.
The fancy feet on the Nasus there. I thought he was going to walk right into it, but ends up sidestepping just in time there. Beautiful play from Cantankerous Jim to get out of that gank, but
is getting flashed on by Ultimate Feeder. The hook does connect into the root. Death Sentence, though, on Ultimate Feeder. He's taking a couple turret shots. Heal forced out from Chan Chan. And now Endome in hot pursuit, maybe looking to land another hook here once it comes off cooldown. Now they do decide to retreat again. If he flayed him into the tower instead of away, that probably would have been a kill. Can somebody please have a sit down with Endome and explain that you can flay people into you as Thresh when you're trying to make a pick, and it's usually better.
Yeah, that was definitely a situation where there's no excuse. That had to be a flay in for the kill on the Nautilus under the tower, but Easy Doctor's getting converged on here.
Is Easy Doctor getting converged on, or is Easy Doctor converging on them, as they do manage to find themselves a pick on Nervous through the Morgana ulting, lands a beautiful 3-man Soul Shackles into the stopwatch, and is likely going to go back and get a full Zhonya's based on how much this Morgana has been on the map for farming since her last recall. So definitely is going to be something that we'll see happen time and time again, and they do have 3 members of the top side right now pushing on this tier 2 Kiratine stepping a little bit forward, looking to go onto Cantankerous Gym, but Wither is one of the least fun abilities in the game and is going to allow Cantankerous Gym to just walk on out of there nice and scot-free.
Yeah, Easy Doctor was in a bad way there, but his team had his back. The Forsaken has been landing Poppy E stuns like it's just built into the kit here. It's just always connecting with the wall. He's getting so much value from these little skirmish fights around the walls in the jungle area near the top side. He's doing so much work with Kiratine there as his backup, and yeah, this top jungle duo has been popping off this game, I gotta admit, for the side of AD Astra. But little silent pop-off in the bot lane there. We haven't seen the camera pan to it too much, but Chen 9000 is actually so far ahead on this Kai'Sa versus that Misfortune here. He's going to be such a force to be reckoned with in this game here.
We have Prodigium calling out the Papega Flay. Beautiful death sentence though by Endome into another Flay away! What is he doing? I am so... Oh my goodness, this is actually tilting me. Oh no, Stealth getting outplayed though by Easy Doctor, who's living on 1 HP, is able to get out to safety.
Yeah, Fizz got unfortunately made mortal by that Morgana there on the 1 HP.
That was so good by Poppy. Did you see that? Poppy used the charge to push the MF just out of the Kindred ulti, but not enough that they're out of the Kindred ulti to allow his ally to come in and clean up the kill there. Beautifully done by Forsaken. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but incredible if it was. Just gonna always assume everything these players do is intentional. It makes it more fun.
Yeah. Now this game is just getting well out of hand. They're one away from Soul Point here. They're about 10,000 gold up, and like they've sort of kept it looking close in terms of the fights here. But yeah, at some point I believe they're just gonna back. There's gonna be such a big item advantage here, and it's really not too much left to do for Purple Cobras again. Like they have to go around and watch like what were their win conditions this game. Should we have rotated Volibear up to the top lane to match that Kindred early to stop the Nasus?
PC is fantastic, just need to work on.
We're seeing that coffee pasta pop up so much this tournament. I'm loving it. We need some more next tier only copy pastas, I reckon. That's what our chat's really missing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they'll develop. I'm sure the copy pastas will definitely brew over the tournament. But I'm not really sure what the move is if you're Purple Cobras in this situation. Forsaken going in looking for a little bit of a solo kill under Stealth. You might be able to find it. Does land the shark, but it's going to be a pretty wimpy shark. It's going to be one of those little vegetarian sharks that eats seaweed on the ocean floor, because it's definitely not getting any kills for himself. And now Forsaken pushing in with that massive Demolish proc, getting a ton of damage on this tier 2. But hold on, here comes Volibear as Nasus Wither is keeping him locked in place. Nervous looking to land that stun as soon as he can. Forsaken managing to get around the corner though. Puppy charge onto the Gromp to buy a little bit more distance. But the Ghost on Cantankerous Gym is in hot pursuit still, but he is going to walk into 4 members of the enemy team, and they are looking to get a full retreat right here as Easy Doctor and Ultimate Feeder closing in with the CC available, and it doesn't look like they're going to land any. Both teams just going to back off, try and push in this wave now as they do have the numbers advantage top side to maybe snag out this top tier 2 or even the Baron.
They're just grouping so well as a unit now. There's not much you can do when the enemy team's this far ahead and they just start grouping. Normally your way back into the game is looking for that dude who's a little bit too cocky in the top lane, split pushing, and you can sort of...
Oh, that Morgana binding was so good. That's going to be a dead Nasus. And now Stealth chucking in another fish, and that did absolutely nothing. He is so far behind. Leandri's Torment Fizz. Maybe not the best of items on that champion, to say the least, but he's doing his best right now. He does get exhausted, so he's probably going to be taking a lot of damage. Yes, he does. Easy Doctor basically one-shotting him. They do manage to find themselves a bit of a shutdown kill, though. Big 1,000 big ones going into the pocket of Misfortune.
Yeah, Misfortune does pick up Chen there somehow. I don't even see what he really died to. Probably a throat shot, but...
Chat asking Prodigium if he's the McDonald's sponsor.
Maybe he can start pulling into the tournament with his endless funds, but talking about endless funds here, that this AD Astra team is so rich. We saw just what a single binding can do with the Tormented Soul there from Easy
Ooh,
Doctor,
Easy Doctor
and
though.
the Infernal.
Oh, almost oversteps and gets taken out by the tower. Does keep himself alive though. Cantankerous Jim, the Wither is popped. Flash from the death sentence. So that is going to be flashed down on Puritine for the next fight. But who knows if they'll even need it. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I'm hoping the scoreline stays like this, so we could just end the match on, you know, a high note, but
420.
I don't think they're gonna handshake the Nexus here. They're probably gonna go down with a fight. And yeah, the fight won't be much of a fight. It'll just be a little bit of an execution. I'd be happy to see Purple Cobras get some kills at this point because they're so rich on the enemy team with the Infernal Soul. They're pinging Baron. They want to end it with as much strength as they can here. And yeah, not too much. I guess in the meantime I can have a peek over at Nasus' stacks. He's at 423. He almost had 420 stacks himself, but unfortunately I think even if Nasus had 1,000 stacks here, that's not winnable. They are just going to grab this Baron and probably group up for the end here. Put Purple Cobras out of their misery this game because they've had some moments, but it's just been turning up all 80 Astra this game. Playing say wide angle, please. Fortunately, I'm not controlling the camera this game. We'll have to play around with
I
Jackson's
can't
config
zoom out.
files.
I'm max zoom.
I had to play around with my config files in order to enable that, so there's some little esports technology you can do if you mess around with the files. I'm trying to improve them as much as I can between streams, but fortunately, if you want to see that, you're going to have to catch me on Thursdays.
Ooh, Morgana, that's a big ultimate from Volibear. They do get the stun onto Chan Chan, but Chan Chan popping the Kai'Sa ultimate to keep him nice and safe. Stealth trying to grab himself a kill onto Kiratine. Another beautiful charge by Forsaken to push them out of the Kindred ulti. And MF is going to find a single kill, but it is not going to be enough to save them from losing the game. Ad Astra taking it 25 kills to 5 over Purple Cobras.
Anti-Surf picked up a consolation prize right at the end there until Jan Jan again, but yeah, it was pretty rough of a game there for Purple Cobras again. Just AD Astra looked much stronger into that second week versus one of the better teams known as Job Seekers, and yeah, they've just been doing their homework. They came super prepared into this matchup. They had the Morgana counterpick for the Fizz. They had the Kiratine Kindred just shutting down Cantankerous Gym, which has been such a pillar stone for this team, and yeah, they just snowballed it from there.
Does look like we had a pretty wash of a bot side. Chan Chan with a 12-1 KDA. And then looking at the graph, the damage graph, we can see it is just an absolute massive swing all across the board. Every roll near doubling their laner just about. So I'm not really sure. I don't know what to say in terms of who like the MVP would be for this one. Bloodexer, you want to give your thoughts?
Yeah, I've actually got some thoughts there. If we hop over to the stats, it's actually Easy Doctor taking out most damage this game, and I find that really impressive when your Kai'Sa's sitting on 13,000 gold and you're only sitting on a measly 9,000 there, and he still ended up taking out most damage in the game. Sure, Kai'Sa really didn't have as many opportunities being in that bot lane, you know, just on tower duty, but I think if Easy Doctor had as much gold as the Kai'Sa, he would have been absolutely exploding people on Morgana, which is not something you see every day, and I love innovative picks like this Morgana into the Fizz. It makes sense. It performed well. And yeah, if I was to give MVP over to AD Astra, I just really do love. I'm a bit biased towards those little technology picks in the mid lane like the Morgana here. So I think since Chan Chan has earned it in previous weeks, I'm leaning more towards Easy Doctor here for the MVP of our match.
I was going to agree. Easy Doctor played lane phase absolutely phenomenally. Seemed to always, you know, just kind of like playing risky but calculated risk, if that makes sense. risky plays, but very good at math, so it usually worked out in his favor. Definitely played very well, so I'm happy to give MVP for game 1 over to Easy Doctor. And then as for the losing team MVP, what are your thoughts there, Bloodexer?
No, I'm leaning towards the players with kill participation here, most of it at least. The Fizz and the Misfortune here. Hetic Antiseptic is, I believe, one of the newer players to the competition and League of Legends in general. It's not something to be embarrassed about when you are new to a game, but he performed like better than his peers. A lot of his peers this game, right? Considering the facts, but I think Stealth had some crucial moments there. He did have a few screw ups on the Fizz there, but he had some decent turnaround plays to pick up some kills. And I think as Purple Cobras as a team, what they want to reflect on these, because a lot of their matches have been a bit one-sided, they just want to look a bit at getting stuff back. And if they're able to get stuff back like that Fizz was doing from behind, get some turnarounds happening, it might start look better for them for the rest of the competition going ahead. So I'd say if I had to give it between two players, it would be Stealth or Hectic Antiseptic here, and I think I'm leaning more towards the Fizz God himself. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, honestly. I can't think about any like particular plays that any of them really made. I think in the top side, Cantankerous Jim did a really good job of like not giving anything away, really. He did have 160 CS, which is obviously leaps and bounds above his peers. The next highest is Hectic Antiseptic on 117 CS, so he was a whole almost 50 CS up on the next like player on his team in only 25 minutes, which definitely says something for his farming capabilities. And you could argue that the only reason he didn't really snowball too heavily was because he was laning against the Poppy, who did rush Thornmail first item, and the only like magic damage dealing player on their team, Stealth, absolutely just couldn't kill the Poppy. Like, Poppy had only Merc Treads, and Fizz R still did like 2% of his health. So I don't know if I can blame Cantankerous Jim for not winning lane too hard, and I think in a world in which Chan didn't have 12 kills, he probably could have had a lot of impact. But that could also just be Nasus being very broken this patch, so I'm not sure. But I do think Stealth did make some picks that definitely did stop the side of Ad Astra from getting Baron a little earlier than they did. So I'd say I'm happy to give it over to Stealth maybe as well.
Stealth. I'll keep my eye on it. I do really want to give a shout out to Hectic Antiseptic because, like I said, he's probably one of probably the newest player in this competition. And like I said, that's not something to be ashamed of. But he ended up having the most gold on his team, so he actually outperformed a lot of his peers again, like what I said. So he's made some improvements from being, maybe you could say, even the weak link to doing a lot better this match. So the gold, definitely an improvement performance.
Gold definitely came from that like massive 1k shutdown he got onto Chan, and then the shutdown on Kiratine right at the end to make up his 2 kills. So was getting those fat shutdowns, but it was kind of big shutdowns in losing team fights anyway. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm happy to give it over to Stealth for this one, I would say.
I'll give it over to Stealth. We'll keep an eye on Hectic Antiseptic. I'm excited to see how he improves as the competition goes there, but definitely Stealth will be taking the ace for this match here, and we will be getting ready for our next one, right?
Absolutely, folks. We're going to be back at 4:30 for Game 2 of the night. And I got to say, this is one that I'm a little bit excited for. This is going to be a Corona Spaceship versus CG. They're going to be battling it out, which is Casuarina Gentlemen. Definitely kind of two teams where if we want to throw it over to the tournament TV and look at the standings, you can see that they're both teams that have kind of gone like 1-1. They're sitting like they're not really poised as teams to beat per se, but they're not exactly bottom of the leaderboard either. So this will really be kind of like the one of those deciding games that separates boys from men, you could say. I suppose it's definitely a very exciting matchup. I'm keen to see how it goes.
I think Casuarina Gentlemen have been turning up recently. Their last game was quite the statement indeed in Corona Spaceship. I still think they need a breakout performance. So we'll see whether they can rise to the occasion or whether they're just going to fall towards the bottom of the standings in this first couple weeks of the split here. So yeah, definitely excited. Unfortunately, I will not be joining you for that. You'll have another caster. I got my own game to prepare for this evening, so we'll have another shoutcaster joining after the break here.
Absolutely, folks. Well, we are going to be throwing it over to some music, and then we'll be back at 4:30 for Game 2 of the afternoon. And then, yeah, I'll be joined most likely by, I believe it's going to be...
Tojango,
it's going to be Tojango, I think. Whoever it is, I'll be joining you with them. very shortly. So make sure to go grab your snacks, especially your Paul's Ice Coffee and McDonald's from Darwin. And we'll see you then.
Catch it.
And welcome back, folks, to none other than the Northern Territory, our beautiful NTEL League for League of Legends, second stream of the second round, I do believe. It is week 2, day 2, game 2, as you can probably tell if you've been keeping track. Now, let's hop right into things, folks. We're going to be watching none other than Casuarina, gentlemen, and Corona Spaceship facing each other head to head, and we're about to hop into Champion Select. I'm Jackson Cadius, as many of you know, and I'm joined here on the casting desk by Billy to Django himself. If you want to say hi?
Going on, boys?
Welcome. Oh.
Alright, our game's just getting started. I think we're just having a couple of issues. Bear with us while we try and get that game sorted.
Looks like there
How
has
about
been
that first game, though?
there has been a bit of a dodge. That first game wasn't close, to say the least.
It wasn't. You're right. It wasn't close, but it was good to see. I think, unfortunately, Public Cobras is starting to fall a bit behind on that ladder, but yeah, it was good to see Astra get another dub on the board, and take their step up there. Currently tied for third place. I think the next two games are actually going to even out our board a little bit better. I think this game we've got here is going to give us a defined third place, and our last game today is going to give us a defined second place too. So excited for a big day today.
Definitely. I mean, we still do have the Youngbloods sitting up at the top there. you know?
As expected, really. What can I say?
What can you
Having a pretty good
say?
run so far. I think we've got a couple of the lower bracket teams to start, but we're really starting to heat up and get together. It's been pretty fortunate how that bracket's turned out for us.
Mundo
Finally
being
getting that
banned
game
away.
on the way.
I think Mundo is a kind of one of those picks where I think he's a little bit of a pub stomper. So him getting banned away does make a little bit of sense, you know, in these games where there aren't exactly really any players of any significant elo. I think the highest elo player in this game actually is On Fleek, who's the Platinum 2 80 carry player.
Right. Yeah, it is an interesting one. I think, yeah, since Mundo's changed, he's become a bit of a different champ. I used to main Mundo before the rework, and he used to have a super strong early game, and obviously, it's not quite the case now. I think in a lot of
more about
matchups,
getting power. His
Yeah,
ultimate
that's right.
used to just kind of just be like a health regen thing, but now like a lot of his power does come from that ultimate. So
yeah, gaining 20% of your max health and then regenerating another 25% slowly after that at level 6 is pretty absurd. It's a huge buff for him, and of course his W now giving him grey health, and his E just giving him like a huge whack, and like he can put out some serious damage in the late game and just kite some of these 80 carries around. So it's a pretty fair ban. Also seeing the Singed and the Ezreal get banned out. Looks like Pandemonium might be a bit worried about Bin's top lane picks. We have
Singed
seen
is very strong. Singed is a champion that definitely is very, very strong when put into the right hands.
Was
Especially
it
with some of the
Bin-
new items that have been implemented, you can really, really cause an issue for your laner if you do decide to mark them as your opponent and take 30% less damage from them. Trying to break a Singe proxying your lane becomes incredibly difficult. But so they're just going to take that one away. Ezreal ban is a little bit interesting, especially considering Divine Sunderer did get nerfed for ranged champions because of Ezreal and Senna. This
I would
patch,
have to assume that that's probably maybe just like a scout, maybe one of Conditioner's more played champions, or maybe they're just not super update with the patch. But I still think it's a pretty good ban. Obviously, Ezreal scaling is still like super obnoxious, so it's still not an awful ban. But yeah, not as strong as it was last patch.
Xin Zhao set getting
We're seeing the
locked in
Xin Zhao
here.
be picked to counter the Nocturne. Bit of an interesting one. Obviously that Nocturne can flex to mid and top as well, but I have to assume it's probably going in the jungle. Yeah,
Also a pretty good flex pick here between the mid and top. Potentially support as well. Morgana, another interesting flex pick here. Can go between.
And again,
few
yeah,
roles.
interesting. I would probably assume this one is going into the bot lane. I doubt we'll see it mid lane again.
Definitely is a very
You
good
never
answer
know.
to the Nautilus.
And to the Tristana now as well. To stop yourself from getting blasted away when you're about to get that kill is probably going to be pretty huge as well. We go into our second round of bans now. We're going to see what this Nocturne's going to pump out for us. It's
Probably
going to get rid of the
going to be very
Lucian.
targeted at On Fleek's champion pool here for the 80 carries. Lucian is going to
Yeah.
be taken off the board.
As you said, he's the highest ranked player in the game, so it's pretty fair to put some bans towards them. And it's just something that we've been noticing in the drafts ourselves, is that when you leave your best, your best players picks for last, you do just get the extra 2 bans at the end to put towards them. So you can really take a stab at the champion pool of your best player. So you need to make sure that they have like a huge champion pool, and this won't affect them. The Lucian isn't too strong at the moment. The Caitlyn is, a little bit towards up there. She's, I think, an A pick at the moment. So they must be, more of On Fleek's champion pool for sure. We'll have to see what he's going to pick to take up against this Tristana, who is super obnoxious right now. The cannon coming in. I'm going to assume that one's going top lane, so we can probably safely say Nocturne is going jungle at this point, with Nautilus Tristana in the bot lane.
Vayne is going to be the lock-in here. Interesting. Vayne, normally a champion that has a pretty difficult matchup into the Tristana. Also, not the best champion for getting blown up by Cannon, Nautilus, Nocturne, that sort of thing. So very interesting that On Fleek would kind of pick this one. But it does have a lot of skill expression, I suppose. You could definitely outplay and pop
because
off.
they've picked up the Morgana, they maybe feel a bit more safe with the Vayne, but I don't think that's the case. When you have the Nocturne and the Cannon and the Nautilus and the Tristana all jumping in on you at once, you're probably going to get blown up.
Sandra lock-in does confirm that this is going to be a Morgana support.
Yeah, interesting to see. That is a Nunu. So we don't know where. Maybe this Nocturne is going mid?
Very likely. Nocturne mid does have a fairly decent matchup in Syndra, because all you have to do is spell shield the Scat of the Week, and then it's pretty difficult after that point for Syndra to get you off her, so you can do a ton of damage. You also have quite a bit of roam pressure onto the top side, because Set's
absolutely.
probably gonna be pushing in.
And that's just excellent drafting from the side of, I believe that is, sorry,
Casuarina Gentleman is the side with the
Gentleman? Yeah.
Nocturne.
Picking the Nocturne first and having the ability to flex him in like 4 out of 5 rolls is pretty huge. Probably 3 out of 5 rolls, and it's worked for them here. I can probably assume that the enemy team thought that was going jungle, as did I, but it's coming out in the mid lane, and they've got a great pick to play in the mid lane as well. I wonder if they maybe overlooked that. And they've picked up the Nunu into the jungle as well, who's just an excellent ganker and excellent team fighter. I think they might have picked up the draft here. We're just going to go into our spectators delay. While we do that, let's have a chat. What are you expecting to see from these team comps, Cadius?
Well, Vayne is a wildcard pick into this comp. I was going to say that it didn't really have any good champions to play into. I mean, Nautilus is obviously a great champion, but Nautilus, if he does land his abilities on you, is still very scary with the Tristana. But then they did lock in Nunu, and Vayne does have a fairly okay time against Nunu. You're able to use the Condemn to cancel the Nunu ult, which is something that not many ADCs actually have access to. There's only, like, really, I think Vayne's the only one that can do it on a basic ability. The other ones being like Ashe with her arrow, etc. So having an AD carry that's able to cancel Nunu ultimate is pretty good. You can also use Condemn to get Nocturne off you if he doesn't spell shield it properly. And, if he does waste spell shield on the Vayne Condemn, then, Morgana Binding is another viable option here. So Vayne does have, some okay tools to get some of the enemy members off her, but I think in general the champion is just going to really struggle against the Tristana Nautilus lane, even if Morgana Black Shield is a thing. In the mid lane, Nocturne is going to be an absolute menace if he's able to snowball, but if Thevens is able to, rush that arm guard, get himself some early armor, then who knows. But really the early game, honestly, we can talk about the lane matchups all we want, but Nunu and Xin Zhao, two of the best early game gankers in League of Legends. So if they get things rolling and they get lanes snowballing, it'll just be all eyes on them, really, on how these lanes are going to turn out.
Yeah, which has been pretty typical how we've seen the last couple of games too. I think the junglers have really been like defining our, little niche meta in our league. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think there'll definitely be both. Yeah, the lanes to keep an eye on. And the top lane's a little bit interesting as well. We've got the cannon into the set. It's probably just going to be a bit of a farm lane. I think most set lanes are these days, unless set is being, the proactive player. But Cannon can just, use his move speed to dash away and probably stay out of his range for the most part. And if he does, he's just going to press R and stop anything that's happening there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. But just before we get into the game, we should probably run through some sponsors.
Yeah, I shouted them out last game. If you wanna give a special mention this one.
Absolutely. So we got Paul's Iced Coffee as one of our big major sponsors, celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. They've supported us the last couple of seasons, so super stoked to have them on board. We've got McDonald's Darwin, as most of the McDonald's in the Darwin region come back on board, really supporting our community. And we're proud to have the NT support us this year. We've been trying to get them on board for a while, and they've come on board to try and get the community going and really engaging with the youth. So stoked to have those guys on board. We've also got our minor sponsors down the bottom of our stream as well, if you guys want to take a look. Big thanks to everyone helping out the stream. We're just loading into our game now. I think we should see an invade this game. I think the Nautilus and the Nunu and the Nocturne probably have a pretty good early game to catch on to some champs. So it should take off right from the beginning here. We'll see if Corona Spaceship can defend themselves against it.
Definitely. I mean, when you have a Morgana, you have a Nautilus, you have Nocturne with his Fear, you have Nunu, Snowball, you've got, you know, Xin Zhao, Set, Syndra, Vayne with Condemn, even. Like, there's so many level 1 CC tools on both teams that I think for there not to be some kind of a level 1 play would definitely be quite surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just take a second to sync ourselves up. Give me one moment. You let me know where you're at.
12, 13, 14.
Perfect. All right, we're on the same page. So we're gonna see them come out of base now. Let's hopefully get started. Nothing we love to see more than a bit of level 1 shenanigans and get the game going right from the start.
Summoner's Rift.
It looks like Corona Spaceship are gonna stack the bush. But unfortunately, Casuarina gentlemen have gone for the blue side invade. So probably going to miss out on anything too special happening here. I think they might peel off and hopefully they might stay in the brush and maybe catch the Set as he's traveling back to his lane. They should be very cautious here. Just looking at their team comps, you need to be aware of how powerful CC that Corona Spaceship have. Set is just walking up now. He's walking into vision. He's spotted Nunu, but not too much more coming from that, unfortunately.
Looks
like both
Corona
teams just going to path
Spaceship.
off, and Morgana maybe just going to get a ward in this enemy blue buff as well, and that'll probably be it, I would say. Probably go back to lanes and get a bit of early farm. Not as eventful as I was hoping, unfortunately.
No, both teams just playing it nice and safe. They do have the vision on both blue buffs, which means they're going to be able to see this Xin Zhao if he does path towards blue or does go for a red to mid or red to bot type style of gank. We do know that Nunu likely did not start on the blue buff due to the bot side showing a little early, so we'll probably maybe see Xin Zhao. Never mind, he does not decide to path that way. I was going to say he could go for a red to bot gank into attacking Nunu's blue after getting priority in the bot side with a gank level 2, but decides not to go for any of that, doesn't want to go for any risky early game plays here, just goes for the Krugs, probably going to look to do a bit of a full clear, that tells me.
Unfortunately, Morgana's ward there doesn't quite reveal the blue buff, but we do see a little trade happening in bot lane. Conditioner obviously abusing the Tristana bomb with the Halo Blades to get that proccing early. Huge early damage from Tristana for a hyper carry. It's been incredibly hard to deal with lately. The Morgana Q is coming out as they hit level 2, but no follow-up from OnFleek, unfortunately. Guess he mustn't have had his dash up to try and collapse on that.
Definitely the health bars are in the favor of Corona Spaceship's bot lane right now as they're finding themselves landing some favorable trades, but you know, with that, they are going to be pushed up a little bit or overextended, and with Nunu just finishing
keep
up
an
his
eye on
romp
this Nunu here, yeah,
on the bot side is going to be...
The ward has just disappeared, and they didn't see Nunu from that ward.
He's coming down to river, is probably going to go for a bot gank here. We'll see how things pan out. Binding does land itself onto Tristana, so Tristana's not going to be able to follow up, but we do have the snowball coming down, looking to connect on OnFleek. He does pop the flash to get himself out to safety, and I think they're just going to take the flash on both the bot laners and call it a day.
Is huge. Frogspotter can just about come back around now. If there's a blast cone up there, I don't think there is.
There isn't.
He's just going to W back down through the lane. They haven't warded.
Pandemonium getting a little bit of damage up in the top side. Beautifully done. Nice little trade. Does find himself at a level disadvantage, but it's not mattering. They do have to watch out though. Yeah, they are just going to shove in that wave and then look to back off, get some vision, make sure to play it safe. Don't want to get collapsed on by the Nunu again with a repeat gank.
I think that was a mistake from Frogspotter actually. He went for the scuttle there instead of going for the gank again. I guess he couldn't have known if Morgana had gone back to ward the brush, but they were so
and
pushed
here's
up
what
that
we're talking about with Malix and Thevens with that mid lane Nocturne into Syndra. The damage is so crazy, and once he has that spell shield for Scatter the Weak, you just have no way of keeping him off you. He's just going to get tons of auto attacks and do so much damage.
Excellent utility pick for the counter pick in the mid lane. It's so excellent. Really nice to see that from the Nocturne.
He's a very
Syndra
good champion.
Popped her
at
help
dealing with
right
these,
at the last second too. It wasn't quite enough to save it.
Very good champion at dealing with these mid picks that only really have like one spell to keep ranged, keep melees off them. Like Syndra has Scatter the Weak. Another good example is... I can't think of a good one right now. Victor is another one where like the only real tool he has is his W, but you can't really spell shield W in the same way, so it doesn't quite apply.
Yeah.
Syndra is
I
really
mean,
just the big
early you
one.
can until the stun comes, but yeah, once that happens, it's looking a bit rough for you. I wonder if you can time it to get both. But the lanes are just going to chill out. I think Nunu's just gone to get some of the farm that he might have missed top lane when he'd rushed to his blue buff. Bot lane have both taking a nice back, and Vayne has picked up a CS lead from shoving Tristana in, so it's what you like to see from, you know, the ELO leader in that matchup.
Definitely is going to be grabbing double longsword, looking to build that mythic early. Both players are. Nocturne grabbing that Iron Spike whip, likely going to be going for the Gore Drinker build on this Nocturne. Actually, no, not going for the Gore Drinker build. He's going to be going for the Stride Breaker build. What am I saying?
Yeah, and Stridebreaker was one of those tankier items that was nerfed this patch. Right, had a big spiel about how some of their there was just too much mobility in their game at the moment. So I believe they changed Stridebreaker so it doesn't get a dash anymore. But Nocturne is one of those champs who just doesn't need it. You can just press R and land on top of someone.
Yeah, the main point of Stridebreaker was that, you know, you do ult in on top of them, you pop the fear, and then you Stridebreaker so they can't run out of your fear range, and you can just get tons of auto attacks on them. So he doesn't really need the dash, definitely.
Yeah, exactly right. And he's just hit level 6 now, so interestingly, he just immediately started pathing bot. Nunu's here as well. They're either going to take this dragon or take a good fight. Nocturne's kind of just waiting in the brush, seeing if anything's going to happen there. They've got some good vision to catch out this Xin Zhao here as well.
Also interesting to note is Mark Yetta no longer works at Riot Games officially, so there is a completely new league design team that's going to be balancing League of Legends from now on. So patches likely will change in their flavor, and you know, for someone like me that hasn't really liked the direction the game's taken in recent seasons, that's a good thing. But you know,
yeah, it's interesting.
Sure everyone will have their own opinions on it.
I feel like the last couple of patches have all, you know, this year's really just been about items. It's has kind of made the game feel a little stagnant in that sense. There's been some fun stuff like the Stridebreaker, sorry, not Stridebreaker, the what item am I thinking of? You know what
I don't know, but Bin Laden needs to watch out or he's going to get smacked big time by this set in the top lane.
Where is the shop? Can I pull up the shop in this game? I can't. That's gay. Alright. We're going to see this bot lane kind of even itself out again now too. I think Tristana's slowly getting that CS lead back. No, maybe not. She's got a couple of big waves and, you know, her pushing power is really starting to pack it in. So hopefully she can catch up in this lane. I think once they hit 6, they should have a lot of damage to be able to burst this Vayne, but it's just a bit stale at this point. How is top lane looking? Yeah, it's looking pretty even as well. Looks like Cannon's going to go for an AP build, which should be good to see. They are lacking a bit of that damage on their team. They just have Nunu, who I imagine will go tank, so they're lacking that as well.
Definitely does look like Nocturne is going to have the paranoia for this dragon if they're going to go to contested, but it looks like they're just going to give this one away.
Yeah, it looks like they're ready for Herald here. I'm not too sure if Nunu showed or got spotted there, but it was a pretty easy decision for them. They all kind of collapsed together and just took that dragon for free, which is
pretty wise.
Nice.
I mean, Tristana level 5, you have level 6 on the Vayne for the final hour, so just by having ultimates alone, you probably would win that fight. Final hour, as we know, very strong ultimate ability.
At the very least, they've got the Rift Hold, which I think is a pretty even trade. The first Mountain Drake probably isn't the most important thing, especially when it's not going to be like the Soul Dragon. And they're just going to pick up that Herald instead. So as long as they can use it before plating goes down, they should get a huge gold lead here. There's a bit of shenanigans going on in the jungle.
I mean, Dragon's one of those objectives where, you know, it sucks to lose Dragon, but if you can just get an advantage elsewhere, get some gold elsewhere, instead of fighting a fight that you're probably going to lose anyway, it's usually worthwhile. You don't want to really fight for Dragon unless you're gonna, like, unless you know you can win the fight. Like, if you think you can win the fight in theory, then like contesting it's a good idea. But if there's just absolutely no hope that if you 5v5 fair and square, like, you'll win, then there's just no point. You may as well just like use the time that the enemy laners are out of lane to push, get yourself a little bit of a gold lead, try and catch up, and then next dragon, maybe look to contest that one, because
Oh, Bin Laden's about to get.
Bin Laden does
just
pop the
caught
slicing
ACST.
Maelstrom. Pandemonium dropping very low, does go for the ultimate, but it's going to get cut off just in the nick of time.
Yeah,
Set
that was
is
an
gonna find
excellent ult
himself
from Bin.
going
He was just been
down.
poking Set down in this matchup and finally got an opportunity where he got 3 stacks and a stun into a huge minion wave. Pandemonium just couldn't do much. Yeah, like you said, he tried to flash forward, I think, to get the ult off and maybe try and... I think he'd used his W by that point, so maybe just trying to get a better trade, but it didn't really work out for him. And maybe a bit of a panic flash, so really good for Bin Laden. He's got a really nice trade and should give him a significant league in the top lane. And Preacher just coming mid now as well, throwing the Q and
Fevens
blowing
with the
Syndra.
maximum amount of respect, just flashing immediately. Quopro does look to maybe want to be going in here on Preacher.
Yeah, it looks like they're just waiting it out. Nunu has come bot. Unfortunately, there's no dragon up to catch this, but they're not, and obviously the Black Shield for the Nautilus.
They have
It's
found
gonna go
Hunt,
down,
Black
and they
Shield's
should
gonna
have
get
these
used.
abilities
They
back
might
up
have the
again
root
now.
here. Oh, just a little bit too early on the root, I'm afraid. Hunt's gonna get out, flash forward though. Root does land on Fleek, final hour. Big damage landed onto Nautilus, but here comes Nunu trying to pop the ultimate, but it does get cancelled up by a beautiful bit of the Soul Shackles, and now Quopro looking to knock up Conditioner. Oh, bit of miscommunication there! Causes the Dark Binding to go a bit wide, and Conditioner going to look to hop away, but Fevens is waiting for him in the Tri-Brush and is going to take him down with the help of the...
Yeah, really unfortunate for Casuarina, gentlemen. They look like they had a pretty good gank on there. They caught Omogana out pretty early and caught the Black Shield really early, so they would have had some CC to follow up. And by the time they got to lane, they kind of just dumped it all in the Vayne instead, who was able to just blow her heal and walk away from that one. So, a bit unfortunate. Was a good CC, but just not enough follow up, unfortunately. Probably got a lot to do with, you know, Vayne's mobility and her ulti as well. I'm not too sure if she used it there, but I would suspect so if she
did use
survived
final
that.
hour.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it was nice. The Nunu snowball hit her as well as the Nautilus ult, but just wasn't enough to catch her out there. That's fine. This lanes are going to reset. They're just going to shove in. I think they probably need to start looking for a bit more mid. I haven't seen enough of this Nocturne. He's just kind of steady mid lane and farming. Obviously, he wins that lane, but the power of Nocturne is his map pressure, so I would have liked to seen him, you know, come bot a bit more often as well.
On Fleek taking some big damage in these trades right now, but he is nearly finished up. Good Dark Binding there does stop Disaster. As if that hook did land into a Nunu snowball, that could have been a very dead Hunt. Looks like this Nunu is just really pressuring bot side right now. His whole top side is up, including the red buff. It's not really getting punished by anybody those in, not counter jungling the top side. Just happy to farm his Krugs and hover bot side and
has
counter
come
gank.
for the counter gank bot. He has noticed that Nunu's been hanging around there a bit, so they're gonna drop double pink in that brush. A little bit of miscommunication there, but they're gonna get a nice back, and I think Nunu's gonna go and get some of those red side buffs now. So just a bit of poor timing again there from Frog Spotter. I think while that dragon's coming up, you don't want to have to be heading to your red buff, but it looks like he's just going to path down and leave it for a bit later, which is going to put his overall experience down. It's probably not what you like to see against Quopro, who is farming up pretty well at this stage.
Definitely, but I mean, Xin Zhao is one of those champs, right, where Xin Zhao doesn't scale very well. You pick Xin Zhao because he's incredibly strong in the early game. Very good level 2 ganks, but hold on, we've got a bit of a clash going on here. On Fleek does pop the final hour. Beautiful Condemn into the Soul Shackles is going to land and cause a very dead Tristana. Quopro, though, in the middle of 2 members and stuck between a rock and a hard place, is going to get taken down. The stun from Syndra goes a little bit wide, but here comes Bin Laden, slicing Maelstrom. Hunt forced out with the Zhonya's, but the CC is there for the follow-up. Hunt's going to go down, and now it's a 3-on-2 as the big boys of Casuarina Gentlemen find themselves in a favorable trade 1 for 2 against Corona Spaceship, and they're going to snag up the Infernal Dragon for their troubles.
Yeah, that was really nice to see that Bin Laden, he just had the better TP there. Fevens used his as well, but just doesn't have as much to contribute with that single target damage. But Bin Laden was just able to come in, blow the ult, and just keep everyone else away from joining that team fight and lock Hunt down, which is just an excellent play from him.
Oh, but here we go,
Seeing
Paranoia in the
Nocturne
top
comes
side
up.
does look like it's going to be a bit of a 1v1. Fear is landed, goes a little bit wide. Pandemonium has just missed absolutely everything, and he still manages to land the kill. He hit him on the tip of his W. Didn't even land him with the true damage part. And not to mention, I believe he didn't even land the stun with his E. And Nocturne landed the Fear. And he was under tower. Just absolutely everything used by Nocturne there. And it didn't even matter. Pandemonium just stat checked him.
Yeah, that was nuts. While he was under tower, he kept hitting the tower. I think, you know, Malik's got the ult and the Fear off just after the tower went down, and it still wasn't enough to kill Pandemonium. Set W is just so strong. You need to have more respect for that ability. You can win so many, like, unfavorable 1v1s just from that alone. Really need to respect that a bit more, but it was a good try by Malik's. Like I said before, I think much rather see him come and gank bot, because he's just not killing Set, really. Looks like Corona Spaceship are pathing up top. Zinzao is here, but obviously there's no objectives up there. He's just dodged that sweeper plan. I don't think he's going to get spotted. He's just going to farm up. I think Frogspot is doing a much better job at actually just focusing these target lanes and trying to get their team the advantage. It hasn't worked out for them, but just the bot pressure alone has been really powerful. While Quopro has kind of just been staying back a bit more. I haven't seen too much from him yet. He's just got the 1 assist at the moment, so I want to see a bit more proactivity from him as well.
Yeah, Quopro definitely, if you're going to pick these champions like Zinzao that are very, very early pressure oriented, you need to be pressuring early. Bin Laden, though, forced to pop the Slicing Maelstrom to keep Pandemonium off him. Pandemonium is just kind of very silently very, very huge on this set. He's taken down the tower. He's putting immense pressure on the top side, forcing the enemy mid laner of Casuarina Gentleman up to the top side. But hold on, here comes Hunt. Does manage to Black Shield the snowball into a beautiful bit of Soul Shackles. Preacher is going to get condemned. It's going to go a little bit wide, but here comes Set with the tackle out of nowhere. Slicing onto Nautilus. Conditioner forced to blow the rocket jump, but it's nearly going to get him killed. Flash forward by OnFleek to chase. One more auto should do the trick. Pops the heal for the move speed. He's going to go down, and they also manage to grab the Nautilus kill. Nunu going to get away on the skin of his teeth, and that's a
really
beautiful,
nice fight
beautiful
from
fight.
Spaceship. Yeah, Vayne's just been playing the fights really well. Unfortunately, she just missed her condemned there, but that's about the only misplay she made in that fight. Otherwise, she just guided the rest of the team so perfectly. Unfortunately, Nunu kind of popped his ult a bit too early, and maybe he did cancel it. So he either should have held it and tried to zone the team off of Tristana, sorry, but instead he kind of panicked and just ran away with it, and yeah, paid with his life as well. They have just dropped the Herald in the bot lane here. It is pretty low after getting that first tower, and Tristana's going to pick it up. Nice play from them after they've got that nice double kill in the bot lane. Triple kill, wasn't it? Because the Nautilus went down as well, I believe. No, just double kill actually, excuse me. Well, we actually have just had a player DC, so we're going to get an intermittent pause here, just while we wait for him to reconnect.
Definitely.
This game so far has been pretty interesting. Corona Spaceship have been getting some...
We do have to resume right away.
Good to see.
I
didn't see him reconnect, but I guess it was just a quick DC reconnect.
Here, GoPro says when kill set uses Zawado, and it's instant GG.
Zawado. Yeah, thanks being GoPro. That's Pog. Yeah, sorry Harry, mate. I am on the dial-up brain today. I'm not looking too hot, I'll tell you what.
Bin Laden going forward though, Slicing Maelstrom trying to land itself onto Thevens, but here comes Hunt with the return. Beautiful two-man Soul Shackles into the Unleashed Chaos. Gonna melt his health bar. Fevens showing himself that he's a good Syndra player. He can click the R button. Frogspotter is definitely dead here. A little bit of an overkill there with the Set ultimate, wanting to make sure that that Nunu ult wasn't going to cause any shenanigans. Hold on, Scout of the Week lands onto Malix. They could keep going. No, they do decide to back off just in time. And now 4 members of Corona Spaceship are pushing down on the mid-tier 1 of Casuarina Gentleman.
it's not looking good for Casuarina Gentlemen here. Corona Spaceship are playing really good, but I would say Casuarina Gentlemen had the lead in the early game, and they're kind of just being like out-rotated now. They just found a few free picks, and I'm not too sure what Frogspotter was doing in the lane there, especially when he saw everyone just go down. Saw his teammate go down mid lane. Maybe he was trying to come in for the gank, but there just wasn't enough teammates there. So I think this is starting to sneak away for Corona Spaceship. If they just keep up these nice picks that they've been getting and keep abusing the power of this set, I think they're gonna get the dub here.
I mean, absolutely, this set is monstrous, and when you're playing against the champion-like set, you really do have to have, you know, either people on your team that can build Serpent's Fang or, you know, Mortal Wounds. Like, you have to have Serpent's Fang against Set. I feel like not having anyone carry that item against Set just gives him so much power, because he will just get a shield for, like, 90% of his health bar, and that's so scary. How did that Morgana Binding miss absolutely everyone? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Soul Shackles gonna find itself onto Preacher, as well as the Unleashed Chaos gets taken out. Beautiful Zhonya's there by Thevens is going to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but the Tristana is in the back doing big damage. Nunu going to find itself a kill onto the Morgana, but here comes Bin Laden, slicing Maelstrom, buying as much time as he can. He flashes out, but Vayne, in hot pursuit, decides to not chase, goes back to grab himself the dragon. And we see them win a team fight against it all. They had Bin Laden coming in with a massive slicing Maelstrom, Frogspotter picking off Hunt in the back with the absolute zero ultimate, and it didn't even matter. Conditioner was able to sit in the back line and do free DPS for most of it. They managed to blow Scatter the Weak onto arguably the worst target, really, that you want to blow Scatter the Weak onto. Preacher,
Yeah,
and then they also blew Unleashed
fight.
Power onto Preacher, so very, very interesting how that team fight still went in the favor of Corona Spaceship after all of that, but
I think Casuarina Gentlemen had the right idea. It was a good fight for them to take, but as soon because they were winning until the Xin Zhao got there. As soon as Xin Zhao was there, he just started tearing up the team, was able to kite away the Tristana. Unfortunately, I guess they just didn't have enough vision in the enemy team jungle to see them coming, and
I mean, this set and this Vayne are just doing so much damage. And like I said, you really do need Serpent's Fang against that set. If you're not having Serpent's Fang against set, he is just going to have such a massive shield when he clicks W that it's basically going to be like a second health bar. So you have to kill set twice every single fight. And then some fights might even go long enough for set to be able to W twice. It is absolutely ridiculous. But hold on, Malik's going to look to maybe get a steal here with the Q. Not quite. Oh, Nunu! A little bit too late, unfortunately. He's going to go down. Frogspotter. Worth a try, I suppose. But, as I said, you know, Serpent's Fang, very good item against Set. Also, Mortal Wounds, very necessary against him to deal with some of the healing that comes out of Gore Drinker and just the regen from his passive in general. They do have that...
Just as we're watching bot lane, I think just how long it took Conditioner to really take that tower just shows you how far behind they've just fallen in this game. They went down there, just ignored the Baron. They knew they weren't going to do anything to take that tower, and the enemy team has taken 2 towers in the time that it took Tristana to get 1. They go in for a 3rd now, just as she's got the back off. So yeah, they're super behind. I think this game just keeps going further and further towards the lead. Nunu coming in. Snowball.
Initial D, Deja Vu. Malix pops the Paranoia, looking for Vayne in the backside. Huge slicing Maelstrom from Bin Laden. It's going to wipe up 3. On fleek, the last one alive. Big damage onto Conditioner. Finds the kill, but it's not going to be enough to keep himself alive for too long. Manages to trade 1 back, but a massive 4-man wipe. That's what happens when you fight without your strongest player. And Casuarina Gentlemen crawl themselves back into a winning position.
That was exactly the fight they needed to have any chance of getting back in this game. So that was super well played from Bin Laden and Frogspotter. Just syncing up the Nunu snowball with the ultimate and then the slicing Maelstrom on top of that while everyone's slowed. It's just going to win them the team fight every time. I'm not too sure if that was just them getting... It was probably them getting caught out, not so much Pandemonium being top lane. He was, I think, just trying to get a split happening while there was heaps of pressure mid, but they really need him in these fights, clearly. He's been quite the difference maker, so great stuff from Casuarina Gentlemen. Wow, more of that. More of that. Keep this game going.
Absolutely. We can see if we look at the gold here, over 2,000 gold more on this Vayne than the enemy ADC. And top lane is a very similar story, 2,500 gold nearly ahead. So
Foxbot has just done it again with the home guard.
yeah, Pandemonium though, he does have that flash available, goes forward, gets a huge ultimate to cancel out the new ult, and no, Nautilus, that's not at all where you want to be. He's going to get a very unfortunate hook there and find himself very dead. And now we have Corona Spaceship pushing down onto the mid inhibitor. They do have the Baron, maybe could take it a little bit further.
And they still have the Slicey Maelstrom that's come back up.
Oh, that's a good Dark Binding. He's going to find themselves a pick. Paranoia, though, landed onto Vayne, but again, he isn't able to find the kill onto On Fleek. He's just too hard to kill, and that is going to be the game going over to Corona Spaceship after
they thought they could still fight with the Slicey Maelstrom being up, but it just wasn't enough. He can chunk them down with that ultimate, but it's not going to be enough to take that team fight 3v5. And Casuarina gentlemen are going to take a loss here. Corona Spaceship with an excellent fight in their base, and just going to end the game from a couple of mistakes. Foxbot had the right idea just towards the end there by snowballing back in and going again, but we saw the difference it would have made with the set being there, and that's how it turned out. Excellent game from Sets. I think he super hard carried that game.
Absolutely.
The only fight they seemed to lose was the fight that he wasn't there for, so I think that says a lot.
If you want to talk about MVPs real quick for this one, I mean, in my opinion, very, very close between Pandemonium and On Fleek. Both played very, very well. I think that the one fight that Corona Spaceship didn't like win very convincingly and they got like stomped was the one where Pandemonium was like not there and he was in the base. And they just got like all four of them just got completely wiped. So really does show how much Pandemonium was doing, but I mean, at the same time, On Fleek was having Nocturne ult clicked on him in every single team fight, and anybody that plays ADC even a little bit has got to know what that feels like. It is not easy to deal with. He was getting Nocturne ult into Nocturne Fear clicked on him every single time, and yet he was able to stay alive. He wasn't getting picked by it, and that's especially impressive when you're playing against, a team that does have the Kennen, the Nautilus, the Tristana, the Nunu, all these big players where if they touch you, you're probably just going to explode as Vayne.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you have to manage all of that with a Nocturne jumping on you with his ultimate, and he was still able to stay alive. Only 2 deaths to his name with a 12 kill participation out of 19 on this Vayne. So in my opinion, it's going to go over to On Fleek for best player, but could definitely see an argument for Pandemonium as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I might just have a bit of top laner bias, but I'm leaning more towards the Set as well. The few TPs that he made coming down bot lane and saving some of those was super good. Unfortunately, the only death that he took was in lane against the Kennen, but he totally made that back. By the time that there was one fight where Kennen TP'd bot lane, and I think a winning fight for their team. I think they traded 1 for 2. And Pandemonium just stayed top. His TP wasn't up, so he pushed the tower, and he actually got the Nocturne ult and just soloed the Nocturne, which was just huge. And from there, after getting the first tower gold, all of those plates, and a kill onto the Nocturne was just huge and just snowballed him so far ahead. So
yeah, but like at the same time, right? Like he didn't get ganked like at all. There was no pressure topside. Nunu, we saw how hard Nunu is camping bot side. Flash was forced out of On Fleek very early, and playing Vayne with no flash against Nautilus Tristana is very scary. You get hooked, you die. You get Nautilus ulted, you probably die, right? And you've only got a Morgana to save
Tristana, but Nunu Nocturne as well.
And then Nunu Nocturne just breathing down his neck the entire time, and he still managed to go 6-2-6 with 171 CS up on Tristana, who, Tristana has a much easier time clearing out waves than Vayne does. And was just able to get himself a 2.5k gold lead against the enemy ADC.
Yeah, that's right. All right, twist my arm, you've convinced me. Yeah, happy to give that one to On Fleek. He did have a great game for that one.
So On Fleek going to be taking out MVP. And then as for the losing team, who do we reckon we give this one to? In my eyes, it's got to be Bin Laden.
Yeah, the solo kill that he did get in lane and the really important slicey maelstroms that he got in the team fights were so good. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to turn some of those fights, but I think out of everything, it was pretty good. Frog Spider played a pretty decent game. He
was camping bot a lot, but just didn't get as many ganks as he should have. To come off there, maybe if he'd gotten there, if he'd come straight back around after that first gank, might have been a different story.
I definitely do think every single slicing maelstrom was it was like a 2-man, a 3-man, a 4-man, like massive damage, tons of CC. Like Bin Laden was really, really doing work, and it was on the key members of the enemy team too. Like he was really getting those ults onto like Fevens, on Fleek, Hunt, and really scattering the team fights and making it difficult for this to kind of be a wash from Corona Spaceship. So in my opinion, yeah, definitely loses MVP going to go over to Bin Laden.
Yeah, his score doesn't really show it, but just by looking at the damage graph shows you how much damage he'd really done in this fight. It looks like he's did about 14k damage, and the next highest was the Nocturne in the mid lane that did 9k. So he's done 5,000 more damage than the rest of his team, which is, yeah, definitely getting my MVP as well.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we are going to be back at 5:30 for Game 3 of the night. And this one is one that I'm excited for. It's going to be Jewpies Angels going up against the Job Seekers Alliance. So
super stoked for this one. These two teams are definitely top 3 teams. It's going to be great to see. Unfortunately, Jewpies haven't played as many games as Job Seekers yet at this point, but whoever gets this win is going to sneak into the second place slot with Corona Spaceship. Corona Spaceship would have played an extra game if Jewpies win, so in that case I think Jewpies will take second place. It's going to be interesting to see. I think I've heard from scrims that Jewpies are kind of looking to see the edge, but Job Seekers Alliance have had some really good games where, you know, Chris Strider has just been commanding his team excellently. We're really excited to see this game. We'll be playing that one at 5:30. It's too far away.
Definitely, folks. Well, we will see you at 5:30 p.m. When we get into Game 3. In the meantime, grab your snacks, grab your friends, grab your whole friends and family, sit them down in front of the TV screen, tell them to watch. It doesn't even matter if they don't know what League of Legends is. Just force them. It's like that one scene from A Clockwork Orange, you know, where like he's strapped to the chair, forced to watch the screen. Just do that with your whole family. With the NTEL League, because it is going to be an absolutely brilliant Game 3 that you're not going to want to miss. And until then, folks, yeah, let's just tune into some music, and we'll see you then. And welcome back, folks, to our final game of today's matches, and the final game of round 2 at that. It's going to be between none other than Job Seekers Alliance and our sort of reigning defending champions, who put up a massive showing against kind of longtime favorites Destiny in last week's games, Jewpies Angels. So I'm pretty excited for this one. Django, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as I mentioned just before the break, this is a pretty important match for the leaderboards. Obviously, these are like 2 top 3, maybe top 4 teams. I think Job Seekers have an interesting dynamic where they're one of the only teams in the competition that, just from looking at their team, have very specific bans that you need to remove. It's Sergeant Crone's Rek'Sai and Chris Strider's Diana and Renekton. The interesting part about Jewpies is that they can play. They have such a huge champ pool across their team. So whether they decide to actually leave those champions up and try and play counter picks or something like that, it's going to be great to see.
Absolutely. I mean,
about to get that game started now.
You know, sort of known as the kind of player of the tournament, Mr. Northern Territory. You know, Mr. NTGE. What can I say?
Yeah, he is, I think, the only sponsored League of Legends player in the tournament from NT Esports, and well deserved. I think probably since the tournament began, he's probably been the best player, maybe bar the first season or 2. But since then, it's just come into his own. As soon as he stepped away and has been working on his own team, like, the way he's just been able to like command his team and provide so much support and just carry games when he needs to has been outstanding.
I wonder if Fiddlesticks is going to get taken away here. No, they're actually going to leave Fiddlesticks open for Alpha Arcasia to pick away here in Phase 1.
We do see the Rek'Sai ban go over to Sergeant Crone. He does have like nearly 300 games in that champion. But importantly, they've left the Diana and Renekton up. So this hasn't happened against the Job Seekers games yet. I believe they've played 2 games already, and like even last year it happened very rarely. And the only person to not allow that to happen was Blade Xer. He can play anything into, you know, their comp. But interestingly, might have gone for the first pick here. We've just seen the Nocturne and Fiddlesticks locked in on the same turn. So we can assume that Fiddlesticks is probably going to the jungle. He doesn't really fit too many other roles these days, but this Nocturne is going to be flexed top or mid, I believe. And
Definitely
I think
it does make me wonder when you're first picking Ezreal. But, I mean, Ezreal's a good champion to pick into Nocturne, to say the least, so...
Yeah, does the Ezreal get his dash away from the Nocturne? I suppose he does, hey?
He can dash, which helps him get out of the fear range, yeah, and they are going to lock in center. Now, these are quite literally 2 champions that were both heavily nerfed this patch, so... Gonna be interesting to see, because their bot lane is going to be 2 nerfed champions who were previously quite good, but they were good because of their interaction with Divine Sunderer. Divine Sunderer this patch was nerfed on ranged champions. So,
yeah,
I don't know, we'll see how it goes.
It was the max health damage or something that did it. It was reduced from 12% to 8%. So it's a pretty big nerf, but not to the point where those builds are unplayable.
What is
just
unplayable though is
Ezreal,
having to play Senna into a Nautilus here. This isn't going to be very fun.
Yeah, it's interesting that they picked those champions first and maybe didn't hold that bot lane pick for later. It's going to be really... they'll probably just go for a super late game comp here and try and let the Senna and the Ezreal scale, but yeah, like you just mentioned, they have to not lose the bot lane matchup first, which is going to be tricky against the Nautilus.
Aatrox getting banned out here. Now, one thing that I'm interested to see here is that with all of the buffs to tank items and all of the nerfs to items in general, there is one champion that comes up a lot in the ranks, and that is Ornn. What happens when you nerf the stats out of items? You just pick up the champion that gives your items more stats. And then also on top of that, the new tank items make Ornn very difficult to force out of side lanes, so he can just sit there in those side lanes, push out the waves, not deal not have to worry about anything. One of Ornn's biggest weaknesses previously was just getting absolutely matched in the side lanes by bruises, but he doesn't have to deal with that nearly as much anymore. And Rilliam Polio back in the day was known as a bit of an Ornn spamming prodigy, so I'm keen to see if he'll pick it up now that it is very good this patch again.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. I think
Ooh, hold on.
actually, Kane might have played, I think he played Ornn the least last tournament.
Now, this is an interesting one. Challenger for Jade, for those of you that might remember, actually dumpstered Bledexer in mid. He was the only mid laner in the tournament, really, to actually, make Bledexer feed. And it was playing Master Yi mid. And Challenger for Jade is now on the same team as Bledexer, and I'm very interested to see if Bledexer is going to be maybe drafting this Yi to be a, Yi 80 carry with Challenger for Jades. We'll have to see.
No idea what they're drafting right now. They've picked 3 junglers. Nautilus is a jungler. I'd say 4 junglers at this stage. Still haven't picked an ADC. Have no idea where these champions are going to go.
And there's the Diana.
Obviously, the Diana is coming out. Bledexer is intentionally leaving that pick up. He is calling Chris Strider out and knows he can beat that pick. So it's going to be interesting to see which of these champions he's going to take into it.
What is this comp?
Hello?
So this does confirm that this is going to
be locked in.
This is going to be a Yi Nautilus bot lane more than likely, and it is going to be a Gwen top Nocturne mid. Yes, sir. That is correct.
Is such a troll. I love it. I love to see it. You're right. It was an excellent game last year. I forgot what team he was playing on, but he did go up against Bledexer in the mid lane, and I guess he just hadn't versed much Master Yi mid and got dumpstered by Challenger for Jade. And maybe that was enough of Bledexer to recruit him over, and now was just launching it in the bottom lane.
I do say I gotta really like their draft here. Like Nasus, very good champion, as we mentioned. Hecarim, fairly strong champion, does really well into things like the Fiddlesticks because he does have that unstoppable ultimate to get on top of him without having to worry about catching up to the Fiddlesticks and getting through his fear and stuff. Also very good at ganking this double melee bot lane as well, because Master Yi, if he alpha strikes, is going to be pushing out waves, which makes it, very, very supple, very vulnerable to Hecarim coming in behind, giving a bit of a ram with the old Charge of Darkness.
These comps are so alright, so Job Seekers have drafted a nice comp. They've got super late game scaling with the Nasus, the Ezreal in the center. And Diana obviously scales pretty good as well if she can get ahead. But on the other hand, we've just got a full dive comp. And I think I prefer it, which is just outrageous. I think the plan is to just focus this bot lane. As soon as Nautilus hits this Q, Master is just going to hit his Q on either of them and just auto attack them down and walk them down. Obviously, if Senna can play that well if she times her W, but as we've seen, Challenger for Jade has just played such a strong Master in the past. I think he's pretty experienced in that champ. I genuinely have no idea how this game's going to play out. This is so odd. I love it. You don't often see Jewpies Angels just go out there and troll pick. I don't know if that's the word, but they're going to go out and they're going to have fun this match. I guess Nocturne is a pretty strong mid pick at the moment. Gwen is people are still super unfamiliar with
definitely is a player specifically that kind of popularized Nocturne mid as being a thing in NT, I would say, a few seasons back. Definitely was one of the first ones to pick that up when it wasn't even considered. Now Nocturne mid is a fairly known pick where if you hover Nocturne mid in solo queue, people aren't going to be WTF Nocturne mid in chat. But
yeah, exactly.
But back when people would do that because Nocturne mid wasn't considered a thing, he was a jungler. Bledexer was one of the first ones to pick him up and show that he can be played in the solo lane, and he still carried that all the way through to now. It's definitely one of his more comfort champions, more practice champions. And then Alpha Arcasia on his signature Fiddlesticks. What can I say? Always a pleasure to watch. Definitely going to be my player to watch for this game, as that man, when he's on the sticks, is crazy.
That's right. Jewpies have only played one game this season, and they did play that Fiddlesticks. We saw it so many games last season, and it is so incredibly painful to deal with. I'm not a jungler, so I can't speak much on the matchup, but just from Afro Acacia's experience in that champ, it's looking good. I think Sergeant Crone is a jungle main. He might have maybe the most jungle games played in the tournament in solo queue, so maybe he knows how to play against this champ. We're yet to see the Fiddlesticks do quite poorly though, so just baffled by this comp. It's gonna go crazy. Just while we wait for that game to load up, just run through a quick sponsors. Big shout out to our major sponsors, Paul's Iced Coffee, celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. McDonald's Darwin coming back in again with the support, and the NTG, Northern Territory Government, coming in and supporting the local youth community. I can't wait for this game to start. It's going to be outrageous.
Yeah,
Jewpies
it's
typically
gonna be
just pick such... They play pretty traditional stuff, except for maybe Blade Exa. Like, a lot of last year, I think they had Hectic Man playing in the ADC role. And he has a pretty wide ADC pool, but he will play the typical stuff that was strong. Caitlyn, Tristana,
Grasp
such
of
and
the
such.
Undying on this Ezreal.
Yeah, maybe they... that just says to me that they are going to go for the tank build, and Senna has taken Glacial Augment, which means she's definitely not going for the Ice Mythic that, does the same thing essentially. I kind of think, well, I guess she can still go with her...
There is a center build that's been popping up a little bit where you rush like Randuin's Omen first item and
Right,
play that way, and then
Senna is so outrageous.
you go like
She's
Randuin's
so
Omen
much
into
maneuverability.
tank boots, and then you look for like stuff like Moonstone Renewer, and you just play like very utility.
Yeah,
but
right.
I don't know what, like Senna is just one of those champs where because she gets AD without even building AD, you can really build her whichever way you fancy. Obviously, if Senna's in the AD carry role where she's actually last hitting, you don't get as many souls, so you do actually have to buy AD, which kind of pigeonholes her into the one, like, Kraken Slayer Gwynzu's build, because that's her best, like, AD build. But
Yeah,
if you're
right.
not CSing, if you're in the support role, the options are so wide because you can get AD without buying it, and you can just build whichever else you'd want, really.
Ezreal's in this bush. I think he's going to see it coming.
Yeah, Starboy is
Dream-
having
oh,
a
he's-
definitely flash
Good
here.
luck.
Flash into the root, though, is going to get him up. The hook comes forward, and a little bit of a fail flash there.
The Ezreal blew
Nearly.
the flash and the heal
Definitely.
so early.
But Ignite
I'm
and
really
Flash
scared for
used
their bot lane.
from the bot lane of Jewpies Angels, should I say. So, going to be interesting there, but definitely a very good start. That's what you want to see for sure. Starboy is going to have to play very nice and safe now after that one. Looks like Shortmaster is pinging out Ezreal's heal.
Yeah, I think we can expect Alpha Arcadia to head to that bot lane pretty early. Obviously, the pre-6 gank isn't the strongest, but I think just against their comp, it's going to do just fine.
Absolutely. Also, it's worth noting that Fiddlesticks here actually went for the jungle item double control ward start instead of any pots.
Yeah, that is interesting. I suppose Fiddlesticks doesn't need it. He can just heal off the jungle creeps, obviously. Just use his W. Maybe I doubt he'll be maxing that, but Alpha Arcadia is pretty experienced. He might just be able to get enough sustain by doing that. Interestingly, he's got Predator as well.
Ooh, that's going to be a hook
common.
right off the bat. Level 1, Shortmaster taking a ton of damage in that trade.
Obviously, he still has his summoners up, so I think he was pretty safe to flash away there, which is why Challenger for Jade just backed off. But they're gonna get so many trades like that where they just get poked down. I think really gonna need to see Starboy and Shawmaster play out of their minds here, and they have been playing great so far this tournament. They've been like a standout bot lane so far. And Dream to Meme is gonna hit that. Starboy has no E.
Starboy doesn't have Flash. He doesn't have Arcane Shift. He's probably going to get taken down here. Double Strike coming out of Yi is going to finish him off. And that is going to be the first kill of the game.
Talking about in the pre-game, that's all it takes. Just one Nautilus Q, one auto, and then Challenger for Jay just going to Q one top. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in this lane. Obviously, it'll be a bit of a different story when Ezreal gets his E up, but even then, like, the flash is still down for another couple of minutes or so. Oh, it's gonna be pretty nuts. Rolly and Polio shoved a nice wave in for this Nasus. Not particularly what you want to do. I think Nasus does still get some pretty decent farming happening under his tower. I think the freeze is better in that lane, just so the Gwen can push her like abusive early game, and obviously she's taking the ignite teleport because she doesn't need flash. She has E on like a 5-second cooldown, which is essentially just as good as the flash. Interested to see how this mid lane's going to play out. I suppose this is something the Bladex has practiced as well. The Nocturne into the Diana, by leaving the Diana open and first picking Bladexer, first picking Nocturne. Essentially what he said is, like, I've left your main champion open. If you want to play something comfortable and something that you can carry with, you have to play it against this champion I've been practicing to beat that. And yeah, it looks like Chris Strider took the bait, so we'll have to keep an eye on that matchup. Fiddlesticks is here
Definitely,
in the bot
here
lane
comes
now.
out for Arcadia, does pop the fear onto Shortmaster into the silence. W comes out, lots of damage, but not enough for the kill. He didn't have the bot lane quite on the same page, reacting in time, and that is going to be the Predator coming out of the Fiddlesticks very early here.
Yeah, it's a great game from Alpha Arcadia. I think we can expect to see him probably go back there shortly after that wave bounces back out. Under the tower, there's not much challenge for Jay can do there, and Hector is showing bot at the moment, so we'll expect to see it back from these guys in a minute. Nautilus is kind of pathing up and maybe just stopping this Diana from coming through the jungle. Found one of the wards she just put down. Challenge for Jade is just
coming on challenge for
ghosted
Jade. He does
by
have the
that
level
group.
lead. This is too much damage. Challenge for Jade will die if he doesn't flash out. Does flash out, but here's Chris Strider caught between a rock and a hard place as Bladexer does come in. Sergeant Crone coming back. It's a 3-on-3. Shortmaster is a little while away. The fear is going to bring down Sergeant Crone, but a big 3-man route. Chris Strider dashes in, finishes off Nautilus in the backside. Alpha Arcadia is going to be second to follow. Double kill going over to Chris Strider. They're looking for 3. Nocturne forced to use the Q to get a little bit of movement speed to get him out to safety, and that is going to be a nice little 2-for-1 going over to the side of Jobseekers Alliance.
Yeah, that did not go the way Jewpies wanted at all. Diana had just been caught by the fear there.
An unfortunate trade. It was looking really good with him. Bladexer took that tower shot, which unfortunately did do quite a bit, but you know, Nocturne with that passive, tons of sustain, is going to heal up.
Yeah, I think at this stage they're like that's exactly what Chris Strider wanted. Maybe he doesn't have the advantage in this lane. These two probably know more about it than I do, but by picking up those 2 kills early, he's going to start putting out so much more damage. Nocturne managed to pick one of those up, but it was a favorable trade for Jobseekers. It's exactly what they were looking for in this early game. Try and get this Ezreal and this Senna relevant early.
Absolutely. And I mean, once Diana does go for that Night Harvester or that Proto Belt, usually the 2 mythics that you see built on this champion, so much damage, but here comes Paranoia. Bladexer looking for the solo kill in the mid lane. Beautiful spell shield by Bladexer is going to stop the Diana ulti from coming in, and he's going to flash out of tower range and find himself taking that one down, but it's not going to be without its trades, of course, as Sergeant Crone is going to snag up the Dragon for the side of Jobseekers Alliance.
Yeah, Bladexer just out here with the mid diff at the moment. He hit the ulti and once he hit it, obviously just locked in the fear immediately and stopped and predicted the moonfall from Diana. And just from there, she missed that. I think if she'd kept walking, she might have escaped the fear and maybe lived that, or even made it a harder dive, or not.
She didn't miss it. It got spell shielded.
Right. Okay.
Oh, but here we go.
Yeah,
Nublist is going to get
why
taken
Black
down by the
actually
looks
stuck
of things. Fury of the Sands. Not going to be enough to keep him alive there, and he's going to get taken down by another big Predator gank from Alpha Arcadia. Really good at those pre-6 ganks, but here we go.
Yeah,
This bot lane, kill lane is just going to be shredding. They are just stat checking. Here we go though, Charge of Darkness. Sergeant Crone coming in nice and clutch. Might be able to find 2. TP comes in from the mid lane as well, and Chris Strider is going to find a challenger for Jade. Another double kill going over to Chris Strider. 4-1 on this Diana. Ruli and Polio
Gwen
pops the
TP'd bot
TP as
but
well,
was
yeah.
just too late. Because he was, having that little skirmish start, maybe he wasn't just proactive enough to be looking bot lane and wasn't ready for the TP, so just reacted when Diana TP'd down. And that could have gone a lot better for JSA, but Akram missed the ulti. He ulted a bit too late and shot past. Yeah, in the end, it kind of zoned them off, but
Intelligent wave management by Chris Strider there, who was holding the 3 minions, which is going to set up likely a bit of a freeze there for the bot side of Jobseeker's Alliance, which is really good, obviously, when dealing with the double melee. A absolutely huge dive, though. Paranoia into the Crowstorm. Alpha Arcasia looks like he's going to get taken down, though. But no! The stopwatch! Oh, Chris Strider not quite getting in there in time. Does force the flash out of Alpha Arcasia, but goodness me, that is going to be Stairboy getting absolutely melted in the mid lane. Beautifully played by Alpha Arcasia, making full use of that stopwatch, knowing the limits of his champion.
Diving energy on Jewpies' team. They're looking really strong at the moment. I think JSA still have their moments. They've definitely got the late game advantage here, but in the early game, Jewpies are doing everything they need to do. Playing it pretty well so far.
Yeah, Nooblest here is just sitting back, stacking up, does have 144 stacks to his name at 9 minutes, which is not incredible, but it's all right. He definitely does not have the advantage against Gwen in the early stages, but once he does get that Divine Sunderer, starts stacking it up a little bit, I'm sure that will change, especially considering he is playing against an AP top, AP jungle, and a mid laner that does have, point-and-click CC. Lets him purchase those early Merc treads, get a lot of value out of them, which is what I'm expecting here, especially considering they don't really have an 80 carry on the enemy team. They only have a Yi, but Yi does do true damage anyways, so it's not like Ninja Tabis would help a massive amount in the first place.
Yeah, the Gwen is just such an impressive lane. Obviously, she's still a pretty new champ, and maybe in our lower elos, it's like still not that common. People don't really know how to play against it yet, which is just makes her even harder to play against. She just has like abnormal healing, and is can just Q endlessly. It's so easy for her to max stack her Q and just take a good trade.
Alpha Arcasia does have Crowstorm coming up, and he is pathing towards the bot side here. Could be looking to make a big play. Does nervously walk past the control ward of the dragon, but here we go. Chris Strider in the mid lane does pop the Moonfall onto Bladexa into the Charge of Darkness from Sergeant Crone. Paranoia is used to buy himself a little bit of a time with the Stride Breaker, but here comes Alpha Arcasia. Big Crowstorm turns it around. They take down Sergeant Crone and Chris Strider. Alpha Arcasia, the counter-ganking king of the Northern Territory, manages to turn around what was an absolute lost cause into a beautiful 2 kills over to the side of Jewpies Angels.
Yeah, he really saved the day there. Bladexa popped the ulti at a perfect time, was able to just get that tiny bit further that he needed to bait them in for the Nocturnal. Just excellently played from the two of them. So unfortunate for Sergeant Crone and Chris Strider. They had such a good gank, but just quite couldn't execute at that stage.
Absolutely brilliantly done there. And I mean, Alpha Arcasia on this Fiddlesticks, he's just always there at every point and turn. You really do have to factor in the fact that Crowstorm could just be popping up over the wall at any second. But it doesn't look like these players are doing that too much, and he's just getting massive mileage out of it. But all while this is happening, Nasus is stacking, Senna is scaling. So we'll have to see how that works, but Senna does have that Phage purchase, so very likely they are going down that Divine Sunderer build path, even after the nerfs. Still definitely viable. I would say, it's there with Frostfire as being decent, but due to having Glacial, that's a little bit of a non-bow, so not going to be going for that one. They do just absolutely melt Senna here, and they're probably going to do the same thing with poor Stairboy on the Ezreal. Take him down with another great Predator gank, and it just seems like wherever Alpha Arcasia is, kills are sure to follow.
Exactly how we said it was going to go in the pre-game lobby. It's once that Yi Nautilus is locked in against that, hyper-scaling bot lane.
Ooh, Charge of Darkness does get used here. They're looking for a Dream to meme. Chris Strider missing the Moonfall on absolutely all 3 players. Doesn't land anybody. Senna ult to buy a little bit more time. Chris Strider going in on Challenger for Jade, but here comes Crowstorm. Is going to do tons of AoE and finish them both off.
Just use that ability of mid lane. What's going on?
He does have that domination primary tree for Predator, but it lets him also get, Ultimate Hunter, so Very, very
That's
low
true.
cooldown on those ultimates because of it.
He has killed everyone in the game at this point. He's got an assist on everyone. So yeah, it's going to be the super low cooldown.
Challenge for Jade might be getting caught lacking. One more Q will do the trick, and he does find it. Stareboy stealing a nice little kill there, but here we go, making a play on the top side. Leagueoflegends running it up top is going to find a nice kill onto Nasus with that paranoia, and now they're going to look to get themselves some
not what you
plates.
like to see from Nasus. He's just let a huge wave die into the tower and another huge wave coming in. I think Ruli and Polio can even snag
We
a few
talked
more
about
tower
this, but
plates here.
Nasus going for the Ninja Tabai. That's not the play.
Yeah, it's not quite it. Obviously, Gwen's passive does percentage health damage when she auto attacks you, but I think it's based on magic damage, or she's doing magic damage.
Gwen is entirely magic damage, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really not that effective, unfortunately. I guess he's just buying them for the late game. It's not that great, but I don't know why you'd rush it in that sense. So, not too sure. Job Seekers really just need to slow this game down.
Honestly, like, Lucidity Boots would be better than Ninja Tabai this game, because you'd have the CDR, which, you know, 10% CDR
absolutely.
doesn't sound like a ton, but like when you consider how many more stacks you get from 10 CDR over the course of the game, getting those early Lucidity Boots for only 900 gold is really
the
valuable.
game's going to come down to that at the moment, too. Like, it's all going to be about this Nasus and Ezreal and Senna scaling, and it's just not happening right now.
That's Shawmaster getting hit up by another Nautilus Q. This just seems to be happening time and time again. They just get hit by a Naut Q, and then they just instantly die and they explode.
Yeah, they have no respect.
Stareboy is just getting dove right now under the tier 1. No respect. Challenge for Jade is going to reset tower aggro with that Alpha Strike. And this is what I was saying about the bot lane. Like, you lock in Ezreal Senna, you have such little kill pressure in this lane. And it just completely opens up the gate for the bot side of Jewpies Angels to lock in something crazy like this Nautilus here. Just go for a kill lane and just look to explode you over and over and over again. But here we go on the top side, looking to get a little bit of some damage done. Chris Strider going in on Rillian Polio. But Rillian Polio turns it around, gets one. The healing is there. Might be able to get another Q off here and stay alive. A second Q. One more auto will do it. And he takes two for one in a 1v3 situation. And they clean up Senna in the bot side with a beautiful paranoia. This is just not looking good right now for the side of Jobseekers Alliance.
Yeah, it is 15 minutes in, and that's a 10k gold lead right now. For a scaling team, this is not what you want. I think that JSA had the right idea in the draft, and then got out drafted. It still could have been fine. They just needed to slow the game down. They keep trying to go for these crazy plays, and they're just like not working with such like a huge deficit that they're experiencing right now. I actually think this game is over at 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're somehow able to get a Miracle Team fight, then maybe we could see it being turned around. But I just think it really all came down this game to that Ezreal Senna pick first phase. If you lock that in, Ezreal Senna, like, Ezreal mid has seen a tiny little bit of play, but I definitely think it's like very niche. And after the Divine Sundering nerfs, I don't know why you would play it anyway. But it kind of shows your bot lane already, and Ezreal Senna doesn't have kill pressure. Like, you're killing no one in that lane, right? Which means you don't have to worry about picking champions that, like, can get abused if they're, you know, double melee, like Yi Nautilus, and you can just look to get kills after kills on these squishy players, like we're about to see. Shortmaster explodes yet again.
I don't want to start flaming, but I'm starting to facepalm. This Senna's just been caught out so many times now. She is 0-5. Ezreal is 1-5. This Yi is 7-2. Every member on Jewpies has a huge shutdown right now.
Oh, Chris Strider getting hooked up. That's going to be another kill. Exhaust is dropped for the Moonfall. Challenge for Jay. Does get taken out by the Ezreal, actually. Charge of Darkness coming in. Maybe look to get a kill here on a Dream to Meme. Paranoia goes down. He's going to one-shot Stareboy. Bledexa with so much damage right now. And unfortunately, they do turn what was a decent situation, losing Chris Strider, but also taking Challenge for Jade into a 2-for-1, which is never ideal. Here's Crowstorm, though. Does land onto both members. Sergeant Crone is going to get taken down. Here comes Nublist on that Nautilus, but he's not able to get in and do any damage, really, as that Gwen is there to scare him away.
And there's just nothing they can do right now. It's 7-24. Jewpies have drafted such like an incredibly aggressive comp, and they've just played it perfectly. Like Blade Extra's just gotten so many important ults. A Dream to Meme, I think, is hitting every hook this game. I'm not sure if I've seen one go wide yet. Like, he's playing so crazy, and it's obviously when you have the Yi as your ADC, you're just gonna like scale so hard from there. It's really.
Oh, Hecarim has purchased the Tab Eyes as well. I don't think they realize how much CC is on this side of the enemy team, and they do have a Yi, but I don't think they realize like Yi's got Kraken Slayer plus E. Like, you can have full armor build if you want. Yi will still melt you. He does so much true damage. Doesn't matter. You may as well.
I suppose they're just scared about this Yi and Nocturne hyper game, but every member on their team is such a threat right now that you're right. They need the
definitely do need
tenacity,
like CC tenacity.
more than anything
yeah.
right now. They're
But
sitting on top of a ward right now.
It's one of those things where it's just they gave up too much of their draft too early, whereas Jewpies Angels started off by picking Nocturne, started off by picking, you know, Nautilus, Fiddlesticks, these champions that can flex fairly well. You can stick the Nocturne both mid and top, you can stick the Gwen both mid and top. And they, you know, they had the Nautilus there, who's, you know, very versatile support, can be played, you know, very hyper-aggressive in lane, or you can look to roam with him in lanes that he maybe doesn't do too well in. But the enemy bot lane just kind of showed both their cards. They showed Nasus as well, which obviously can only really be played in one lane. So very interesting, but this is going to be a massive team fight here for Jewpies Angels. There's no way Jobseekers Alliance win this. They're just going to get melted down by Challenge for Jade here with that Highlander and Bloodexa with the Paranoia. They're going to get melted down. Looking to grab this mid tower right now, and I gotta say, it is just stat check city. There's absolutely no way that Jobseekers Alliance win this game unless Jewpies Angels make a like massive int mistake. But even then,
found Sergeant Crone here too. He's just gonna run him down. He doesn't have the needles up just yet, but a Dream to Memes here. That's the first hook he's missed all game. The center hold coming in, but he's just so weak right now too. He's been irrelevant this game. We talked about how bad the bot lane was going, but just looking now, the Akram is also 0-7. It's just been counter jungled and
absolutely 2k gold ahead on that Fiddlesticks at only 20 minutes. And pretty much every lane is at least 2k gold ahead. The biggest difference by far being that mid and bot lane, which is sitting at about, I mean, mid lane is nearing being a massive 5,000 gold ahead at only 20 minutes. Bloodexa absolutely putting on a clinic in the mid lane. Nearly 100 CS lead.
It looks like they've got Ruli and Polio here, but he might have enough
find Ruli and Polio with the pick.
His needles are up just at the end of this Zhonya's. He's going to dash away, but I think he can take the fight. No. Just.
Definitely is going to get taken down there, and that kill is going to be going over to Chris Strider on the Diana.
Yeah, if that fight goes actually like another 3 seconds, I think Ruli and Polio definitely trades at least 1 for 1, maybe even 1 for 2 with his ulti coming up there. He's got so much Omnivamp right now that he's just life-stealing like way too much. He could genuinely, like when that ulti is up, he can take that fight. So I can understand why he's overextended there, but maybe the ulti just wasn't up in time. It's interesting. Jobseekers Alliance is definitely one of the top teams here, but I think this, if anything, this game is just showing how far ahead Jewpies are for everyone else. They've done so much research. The Crow Storm ends the Nocturne ult coming in right now, forcing so many flashes. They've got the Baron up. They're just going to take the tower. Stairboy's down for another 25 seconds. They can just about end the game, I think. They used a few ultis, but I don't think it matters. We'll see how they play this one. Yeah, it looks like they're going to back off. Maybe just go catch that mid-wave. Sergeant Crone is channeling. But not going to get anything. He's actually going to cop a death here.
Yeah,
Chris Strider coming in to clean up.
He's going to get melted. Chris Strider looking to grab someone with that Moonfall, but a beautiful Alpha Strike by Challenge for Jade is going to dodge it up. But boom! Senna's actually grabbing 2 kills here. Chris Strider is going to still be alive. Nooblist getting some damage done, but he's going to go down. The GA is popped from Bloodexa. We'll see what Stareboy can do.
Lasagnas from Alpha Arcasia.
Doing his best to dodge around the Gwen W here, but here comes Chris Strider. He's fully healed up. Definitely fighting for their life on this inhibitor, and this is kind of the moment where, you know, Jewpies Angels could potentially throw.
Yeah, they can definitely give away some huge gold leads here. Some gold leads and some shutdowns. I think they're just going to back off after they drop that Shelly, though. After Arcasia's been caught out, he just gave 1,000 gold away to the Hecarim.
Yeah, that's
Shelly
definitely a big swing. They don't even get a Nexus Tower. They do get 2 inhibs though, but it's one of those things where, you know, this is often overlooked in League of Legends where, you know, if you are able to grab a inhib but then not end the game, every single wave that inhib is kind of up, where you're not ending off of it or like getting something off of it, is just extra gold into the pockets of the enemy team, because those supers give a lot of golden experience. So they definitely do not want to leave these inhibitors just to respawn, because it will close the gold gap quite considerably.
Yeah, Senna's just been caught by the Nocturne here.
Definitely is looking to be a big fight though. Big moonfall. Pledexa might go down here. He is. That's 1,000 gold going over to Sergeant Crone yet again. Really, and Polio might be looking to go down here as well, as Nublis does pop Curse of the Sands. One more Q should do the trick from Chris Strider, and it does. A Dream to Meme left by himself here in a 1v3 situation. He's going to get taken down as well, and unfortunately they do lose both Nexus Towers for that play, but that was a massive gold swing in the favor of Jobseeker's Alliance. We can see the gold difference has closed up quite considerably.
Yeah, I wonder if Yi can just walk through the base and end the game here. He's kinda tempting them. He's like so huge right now. He's 11-4. He's got his Kraken Slayer, Sterax, and Blade of the Ruin King. It looks like he's kind of baiting with Alpha Arcasia. He's got the Crow Storm ready. But I don't think Justice Society can leave the base right now. They have to fend off these super beams. Such a hard spot for them. They've got a lot of gold in those shutdowns, and just from that fight they seem to do well, but I would go as far to say that Yi and Fiddle are probably the strongest members on Jewpies right now, and they weren't there for that fight. So it was well picked, but the game is definitely still not in their favor. They're still 12k gold down after losing 2 team fights. It's still like just impossible to come back at this point, I think.
Definitely is difficult, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. I don't think the win percent is 0 just yet, but definitely is low.
As soon as Jewpies just get 5 people together on the map, they win the game. They haven't at the moment. I think they're kind of just
I just noticed Stareboy is actually gone for Duskblade into, I'm not really sure what he's building next. Potentially could be Divine Sunderer, like Frozen Heart type of angle.
Yeah, with the Duskblade, interesting. I guess if he's super tanky and invisible every time he gets a kill reset, it could be good, but he might just be trolling at this point too.
We'll see how things go. Last fight is going to break out. This is going to be make or break for Jobseeker's Alliance. Paranoia gets popped. The target is Nublis. Massive Crow Storm into the backline though. That Crow Storm was disgusting. It hit all 5 members, and that is going to be a massive wipe. It is all on the click of a button. Alpha Arcasia does it again, leaving nothing to chance for his team, and they do it again.
He can't leave the middle sticks up. It can't. Alpha Arcasia is just, he might not even be the greatest fiddlesticks of all time, but he's just in the right spot at the right time, and he's always there. It's not luck. He's just like perfectly positioned every time there's a team fight. It's either great communication or just great intuition from Alpha Arcasia. He's playing out of his mind on this fiddlesticks the last season and a half. Oh, it's so nutty. Should we have a look? I'm scared to look at the damage graph. Oh, not as bad as I thought.
Now, the damage graph was actually fairly close. Chris Strider, as we know, definitely did do some work. So did the Hecarim. Nublis was starting to scale up towards the end there. And I gotta say, Stareboy, despite going 2-10, you know, did have some fights where he definitely did get some key spells, did get that pick on Challenger for Jade in the Dragon Pit at one point. So they definitely weren't a non-factor of a team. There was definitely a game there for Jewpies Angels to play. It's just, You know, League of Legends at its core, at the end of the day, is a game of resources, and you know, you win by getting more resources than your opponent. And Jewpies Angels absolutely did get more resources this game. If you look at the gold values
Absolutely.
here on the right column, it is just stacked compared to their opponent. And
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting one when it comes down to MVP. I think that everyone actually just played their role so perfectly, and I'm looking at Fiddlesticks and Nautilus, and I actually
I'm
want to lean towards Nautilus here.
Nautilus, really.
Yeah, so might be a bit controversial, but it came down to a lot of Fiddlesticks ganks. Um, but ultimately, Nautilus didn't miss a cue. Like when the point of this team comp is to CC them with Nautilus, and then everyone can just dogpile on top.
Did
And
Nautilus not miss a Q, or did the bot lane just not dodge?
that's a great point. But either way, even just being able to be in a position to hit those, Ezreal and Senna sit back and they poke and like farm with their Q abilities. Nautilus just always found the gaps to hit those Qs, and time after time, Yi was able to just walk up and like run through the team. I seriously think he had such a big role to play this game. It's either going to him or to Fiddlesticks for me. Fiddlesticks obviously just always there in the clutch moments, hitting huge ultimates and more often than not game changing. But I feel like we've seen that before. This Nautilus was just like with the Master Yi was just so much fun and played almost to perfection.
Absolutely. Well, in my opinion, I gotta say, Alpha Arcasia, when I think about highlights of the game, I think about moments that really put Jewpies Angels ahead. It was the massive, massive commitment that Sergeant Crone and Chris Strider put onto catching out Bloodexer, getting a nice shutdown onto him, you know, really opening up that mid, maybe getting a couple plates, rotating around the map, helping out bot side. You know, it could have been a completely different game if that gank had have succeeded, but then Alpha Arcasia with not only a Crow Storm, but a beautifully placed double Fear Crow Storm into a huge drain, finishing off both players and allowing Bloodexer to get out with a sliver of HP. Not only that, but he was there bot side for every single counter gank. He was top side for, you know, the counter ganks. At the end of the game, you know, the game was literally won off the back of him landing a 5-man Crow Storm. I think Alpha Arcadia just played out of his mind, and I think that anybody that is playing against Jewpies Angels that does not first phase ban Fiddlesticks is asking to lose.
Yeah, and you're right, but I'll hit you with the same thing. Did Alpha Arcadia just play well, or did he just play Fiddlesticks? Like we mentioned before, he was there every time he needed to be, but you know, it's just pressing R is like it's so huge in some of these team fights for Alpha Arcadia. I think you're right. Yeah, this one might have to go over to the Fiddlesticks again. I personally hate it. It's just like I'm terrified of the Fiddlesticks, and I'll ban it every time I play against Jewpies. Happy to send the MVP over to Alpha Arcadia.
Definitely. I mean, looking at even other stats here, crowd control score, Nocturne's crowd control score doesn't count to anyone that knows, because Paranoia counts as landing like hard CC on all 5 members of the enemy team. Plus, you also then have your point and click fear. So Nocturne's crowd control score has been like overinflated for years. So you kind of ignore that one. But looking at the rest, 32 on Fiddlesticks, 56 on Nautilus. Definitely players that were just absolutely making plays all around the map. But honestly, you might be right, because Fiddlesticks did have a kill participation of 17, and, you know, he played really well, but kill participation of 26 on Nautilus. I didn't realize the gap that was there until just mentioning that, but
he was legit there for like every fight. Every time, Challenger for Jade has done so much damage this game, but against their comp, he only gets to do that damage because of Nautilus. Like,
yeah, I don't think Challenge for Jade got many kills, especially like in lane, that weren't off the back of a Nautilus hook.
Yeah, I don't think I saw a solo kill. There might have been a few, but like just camping a brush or something. But more often than not, it was just a dream to me. Queuing in, getting a huge auto, pressing R as well, getting a knock up, and from there, Challenger for Jade is just gonna, you know, auto attack. Challenger for Jade did get some good Q resets under tower and dropping aggro, which is just like the stuff you'd see from this Yi main that we've seen play mid before. So
Definitely.
yeah, super interesting one. I really want to give this MVP to a Dream to Meme. I think he played like absurdly well.
Yep. All right. Well, a Dream to Meme can be MVP of the game, and then loser MVP, loser team MVP, or Ace, whatever you would like to call it. What are we looking for here at the enemy team? For me, Chris Strider obviously sticking out as a fair contender, best KDA on the team, most gold nearly on the team. Sergeant Crone up there as well. It's definitely between either the Diana or the Hecarim in my eyes.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Hecarim didn't do enough for me this game. And when he did, you know, I just that ulti bot lane is kind of sticking out in my mind where he missed, and it could have been like super favorable for them, but just maybe a bit of champ mastery diff there.
Chris Strider also missed a couple like moonfalls though. Like there was that one fight where he like dashed in 1-on-3 and was in the middle of all three of them and clicked R and it didn't hit any of them. So I'd say
that's true.
Definitely
It's
misplays
hard
from
to
both
give
people.
this one away because obviously Stairboy and Shortmaster had a pretty rough lane and didn't play it very well either. Sergeant Crone just didn't make enough happen when he needed to. Could not keep up with Alpha Arcasia. And Nublis was more or less like a null factor top lane. I think he got soloed by Ruli and Polio. We can't forget that he had that crazy double kill bot lane as well when he was fighting like 1v3 essentially. He played super well against Nublis, but it's a losing lane for Nublis too. I don't know. It's just like it feels like Job Seekers lost in draft. They drafted a good comp.
They definitely did lose in draft,
but they just got counterpicked in every lane and hard lost that from there. So.
Your bot side just like doesn't have kill pressure. Like Diana doesn't like have much in the way of CC. She does have the ultimate, and then you have two characters that are not really dive characters that can follow up on your Diana and your Hecarim that are laning bot side with Diana and Hecarim, and therefore you can't really like maximize. Like if you're gonna pick a divey mid champ, a divey top champion, picking Nasus and then picking Ezreal Senna just doesn't really make any sense to me. I think it definitely other champions could have fit better. But then in that same vein, like if you're gonna pick Ezreal Senna and Nasus, there's definitely better mid champs and better jungle champs that you can pick. But that's kind of the big weakness about Chris Strider that like I've kind of been harkening on for probably years now, and that's that obviously his two champions that he really plays are Diana and Renekton, and there's one thing about Diana and Renekton that's like very factual, and that's that they're both kind of dive champs that need to dive in to do anything, and so they only fill one type of team composition, which means if you're playing a competitive draft with Diana and Renekton, you need to build a dive comp, which means any team comp that is playing against Jobseekers Alliance are either going to force Chris Strider onto playing a champion that he's not as comfortable on, or you just have to build a comp that is very good into dive compositions, and therefore win by virtue of that, or he's going to pick a dive champion in a composition that it doesn't really suit, like we saw in this game, and then therefore the comp isn't going to work as well as the opponents, and you're just going to lose out in those team fights. So I think Chris Strider, just like by versatility of champion pool, I feel like it's very difficult to draft around him as a player. But obviously when the gears do align and he's in a good comp for Diana or Renekton, he's on those champions playing against the comp that it's good to play those champions into. And he really does pop off and can look like one of the best players in the state. So Jobseekers Alliance is a champion that a team that I really do have my eyes on for future drafts for sure, and see if they can really learn to kind of play around that.
Absolutely. They're definitely a top 4 team for sure. They simply just get outdrafted. Like, as you were saying with Chris Strider, Blade Xer just put him between a rock and a hard place this match by leaving it up and then first picking the Nocturne. Like, you've just been called out essentially, and I don't know, I guess Chris Strider might just have to drop the ego there and maybe pick something else that plays really well against Nocturne. But at that point, you've just fallen for Blade X's trap and he's pushed you off a comfort champ. He got a free ban off you essentially just for picking the mid lane that he wanted to play.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like if they lock in the Nocturne and then you pick something like Orianna, or Victor, and you can just sit
Yeah.
like a million years away and just wave clear, and then if he comes near you, you just stick the W on yourself, or if you're Oriana, you just shield yourself and get that armor, and then you have like
That's
the
right.
W to speed yourself up and slow him down, and you have Shockwave. It's very, very difficult for Nocturne to do anything, but Diana's a good matchup for Nocturne, so it's kind of one of those things where they left the Diana up, and then they picked Nocturne, and they're like, all right, are you going to pick Diana? Because if you do, we just win. Like, we win mid lane because you're in a bad matchup. So I think it's that kind of a
tough.
thing that definitely is kind of pigeonholing Jobseeker's Alliance here in these games.
sure.
So I'm excited to see how that evolves, because that's the thing about, these NT seasons is it always does evolve. But back to our original point in regards to losing team MVP. Who do you think you're gonna give it away to
Chris
here?
Strider. I do think Chris Strider still played the best out of his team for the day. We did just go spend 5 minutes basically ranting maybe how Diana wasn't the best pick. His sample's a bit lower than it should be, but at the end of the day, I just think Nublis was a null factor, Hecarim was a null factor, and Ezreal and Senna got dumpstered bot lane. So I think Chris Strider still played pretty well. He did miss his abilities. He didn't show the mastery that we want to see on that champ, but at the end of the day, he played better than the rest of his teams. So I'm going to give my MVP to him.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there it is, folks. And with that, that is going to be the finale for round 2, our final game. And I don't think the tournament TV standings are updated, but nevertheless, so we still have, Youngblood sitting up at the top. To Django, it's got to feel good. What can I say?
Yeah, it does feel good that we've only played bottom ranking teams so far, but hey, it does feel good. We coming into the tournament, we were a little bit nervous where we were going to stand. Some of our games just hadn't been going the way we wanted to, and we've still got so many kinks to iron out. And thankfully, we've had like a few games just to ease us into the tournament pretty gently. I think we've got a bye next week, and in the later weeks we'll probably see the games come a bit closer. But yeah, I think we're looking really good. Definitely top 3 team as well. Probably top 4, I would say. We're probably pretty 50-50 with job seekers at the moment. So we've got to see how that pans out.
Definitely. Well, folks, you'll have to tune in to week 3 to find out more. And you can catch those games on Thursday. And as always, you can follow us over at Next Tier Gaming and Esports on Facebook to see the full list of schedules for not only our beautiful League of Legends season, but also all the different games going on in the NTEL right now. And as always, thank you to our sponsors. Our major sponsors for 2021, Paul's Iced Coffee, celebrating 60 years here in the Territory, Northern Territory government, as well as McDonald's Darwin. Definitely big shout outs to them. Wouldn't be possible without them, and they are the ones that are really giving us the wonderful prize pool that all the players you saw here today were battling it out for. A total of 30 people. 30 people today. Crazy to think how many people there actually are going on in a tournament on one given day. And then as well as that, we've got our wonderful minor sponsors on the screen here. Thank you to absolutely all of them as well. They make our life super good. And honestly, one thing that I'm excited to do for next year is go and do more, just minor sponsor shout out videos and stuff, because those are so fun to make. It's always a blast going and visiting these local businesses. And
get a couple freebies. Sounds pretty good to me.
But yeah, definitely thanks to them. And folks, we will see you next week on Thursday, where we're going to be kicking off our next couple of games. And honestly, we're already starting to see kind of these narrative stories being built of these kind of, teams that are comprised of new players trying to find their footing and learn. And it does look like they are learning over time. And then, kind of old dynasties like Destiny getting knocked down 1-0 and 1. As well as kind of these new teams finding their way up to the top as well.
So we've got a really interesting one next week. I think it's probably my match of the week is our first game next week, actually. On Thursday at 6 p.m. we have Destiny versus Job Seekers again. So we're going to have to see Job Seekers bounce back pretty hard from this loss. They did take it was super harsh for them. They got beaten every lane and outdrafted. Like, it couldn't have gone much worse. But Destiny kind of had a similar game against Jewpies. So another top 4 team.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
going to be really interesting to see where those two stack out.
I think Jewpies really just like it's less about the fact that they are better players in the game than everyone. I think the real big deciding factor is like they just have better drafts, and obviously it's because like Bloodxa sitting at the helm of the team is kind of the one that is like 1v9 carrying a lot of the drafting probably.
Yeah, he really does have an omega brain when it comes to draft. When I
And,
used to
and
play with
they
him,
just
like,
absolutely outdraft everyone. I feel like if you are Chris Strider and you're sitting there, you're in Champ Select for Job Seekers Alliance, you just need to tell your team to just pick dive and just play to your strengths. And like if you're able to get on your champions and play that kind of a composition and practice that kind of a composition and pull it off, it's very strong. But you have to be proactive with it. You have to get leads early, and you have to not fumble your lead with it. So, I mean, it's just that kind of a champ pool, really. And we didn't see it this week, but maybe we will next week.
So Jobseekers played 3 games and they won 2. The only one they lost was the only one where the Diana was let through. She bans every other game, and they've been forced onto these other comps. So Destiny's going to be another team that isn't going to let that Diana or the Renekton through. So it'll be good to see them maybe go back to what they were doing before, and playing a bit slower and a bit more team fighty, and letting Chris Strider take more of like a commanding role rather than like a proactive diving shot calling role. So
absolutely.
it'll
Well,
be good
we'll
to see.
see you then, folks. We're going to throw it over to some music and close out the stream. But thank you to everyone that won our wonderful MVP prizes for this week. I'm sure we had a couple people in chat picked out by David and Liam as well. And yeah, we'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Just then.